Going to start the East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education meeting. Sorry for the heavy gavel there. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We want to thank everyone for coming out today for the last BOE meeting of the year. It's very exciting to graduate another class and to look forward to the upcoming school year filled with transition and change. And we're going to get more into the festivities, into the events of the meeting as we go on. To lead the conversation, we're going to start student focused with recognition of our New York State Science Olympiad finalists. Mr. Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Temple. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to welcome so many of you to our Board of Education meeting, and it's really a great honor to start off our program this evening by honoring our champion Science Olympiad team from Goff Middle School. East Greenbush School District has had a very successful Science Olympiad program for many years, both at the middle school level and the high school level. We've made it to the regional championships and won those championships. We've won state championships, and even several years ago, Down and Reeve League and others joined our kids. I think it was out in Colorado for the national champion. The group that sits before me today made it to the state finals this year, and at this time, I want to invite their coaches up to present them with certificates. Down and Reeve League, Zach Hudson and Seth Fowler.
Hello, everybody. I have a couple remarks before we present the certificates. I really want to thank you for all the support that you've given our program over the years. I'm the head coach of the Goff Science Olympiad team. Zach is our assistant coach, and Seth joined us this year to be our new technology coach. We have 45 students in our program. So over here, it's just the 15 who made the state finalists. But if you were to see our entire program, we have about 45 students in our program in grades 7 through 9. Many of you have probably heard about the Science Olympiad program, both here at Goff and here at Columbia High School and at Goff. But I want to explain a little bit of it to you because most of you are new to this and probably don't really understand what it's all about. So if you could think of Science Olympiad like a track meet. So at a track meet, you have all different events. And so you have like the 200 and the 400 and the 4x800 and things like that. And then there's also field events, which are like the javelin and the shot put and so on. In Science Olympiad, we have a very similar format. They kind of modeled it after the Olympics. And so they have all different events that our students do. So instead of like the running events, we have academic events and like anatomy, heredity, fossils, meteorology. And then there's also building events, which are kind of like the field events. And so we do scrambler, Mission Possible, helicopter, and those are some of the things that you're going to see tonight. Just like in a track meet where one athlete can do like the 200, the 400, the 4x400, our team members select 3 or 4 events that they can specialize in. For example, one of our 9th graders, Castiel, he did code busters, entomology, microbe mission, and dynamic planning. So kind of a wide variety of academic events. And then we also can do a combination of building and academic events. So we had a state champion this year as part of our team. So just like all the individual events, they get an individual medal, and then they also get a team score. So we actually had first place finalists this year, Tara Rosbeck and Colin Vogel, and they were involved in both academic and building events. The academic events have a wide variety. We can have lab events like Crime Busters, Potions and Poisons, where students are called to perform lab tasks right on the spot. There are identification events like entomology and fossils, and I think we brought the fossils. Yeah. So you'll get to see that, where the students have to research and make their own field guides. There are other academic events that are like testing events where they have a broad base of knowledge and they're tested on all the knowledge that they have, like disease detective and meteorology. Some of the building events are unique because the students don't know the parameters that they're going to have to be tested in until they get to the competition. And every competition is different parameters. So for example, our air trajectory has to shoot at 2 different targets. The first target is in a straight line. It's anywhere between 2 and 6 meters from the target. So they have to be able to shoot in that range. Then the far target is not in the straight line. It's going to be to the right or to the left. They don't know which way. And it also can be 2 meters to the right or a half meter. We don't know until we get there. And so the students have to do a lot of testing ahead of time so that they can be ready for whatever they're given. And so it's a lot of STEM, a lot of trial and error, very real world problems that they deal with. Our state finalists, they get 4 shots. They were able to do well on their first 2 shots, one in the close target, one in the far target, and they were allowed to keep 2 shots to try a bucket shot. And the bucket shot gives them a big advantage. The first time they shot the bucket shot, they went right next to the bucket. So you're like, ooh. So then they had to readjust. And with 1 second left, they pulled the cord and it went right in the bucket. And literally the entire gym erupted, even though it wasn't even their kids. Like everybody is just so amazed that we got it. And that gave us like a 500-point advantage over all the other teams. So we were hoping we were gold medalists, and we were, which is awesome. So during the break, we're going to have a couple things up there. If you want to come up and talk to the students, I'll have the students available to you to talk to them about what events they did. And somebody wore their medals, so you'll get to see what the medals are. It's kind of hard. We're not in season now, so I didn't get the message to everybody. But we really want to thank you for all your support. This is a valuable STEM program in East Greenbush. We would not be able to do it without your financial support and other support. We also would like to thank Superintendent Simons in particular. He has been a big cheerleader for us. He's been super supportive, a big proponent of our program, and we have a card for you. So we thank you for everything that you have done for us over the years. We will miss you in your retirement. Yes, I'll read the names and you guys can hand them out. But thank you again. Thank you for everything. All right. So our first person up is Jess Tenekun. Andre Piku. This one is for Colin, and I got a message that Colin is sick today, so he's not with us.
Yep.
Hashmala Saibzada. Tara Rosbeck. Eliana Pettinger. Christopher Osga. I don't see Annabelle. Is Annabelle here? Annabelle O'Keefe, not able to make it. Nanditha Malam. Dominic Cunningham. Mateo Orang. If they all were, we'd be very impressed. Ray Mukherjee. Romy Escondi. It does not look like Castiel is here, but Castiel Kivlin. And Ria Malgay. Thank you very much.
One of the things that Donna Marie didn't mention is earlier this year, she contacted me and Mr. McHugh. There were so many students that were going out for Science Olympiad team that we were concerned. And one of the things that was talked about, but we never did, was could we limit the number of kids? And so we're absolutely not going to discourage students from being involved in STEM-based, project-based competition activities. So what we did was Donna Marie recruited some of her former students from the program to come back and assist the students, which was a great opportunity for our kids and also for our graduates. So congratulations to a great program.
Yeah, I just want to say too that, Donna Marie's dedication and leadership and the coaches is just tremendous. She retired. How long ago was that now? 3 years. And she's still
here.
supporting our school, supporting the district, and doing wonderful work with our students. So I really appreciate it, Donna Marie and the students. So great job.
And next on the agenda is approval of the draft minutes from the June 11. And I forgot to mention, Ms. O'Brien is going to be out tonight, and Ms. Komersky is going to be out tonight as well. So next is approval of the draft minutes. Let's see here. And just confirming that we do have a quorum. We do have a quorum for the draft minutes. Myself wasn't here. Ms. Steinbach wasn't here. But we have a quorum with 6 members. So is there a motion to approve the draft minutes? Ms. Van Orten, is there a second? Ms. Turner, all in favor? Yep. And all abstaining? 2 abstaining, no no's. Perfect, though that passes. Okay, and moving on to the board forum. This is going to be a recognition of departing members of the Board of Education.
So when an individual from the community steps forward to serve on the Board of Education, they make a huge commitment, which is about advocating for kids. And we have had a very strong board here in East Greenbush School District for many reasons and for many years. But tonight we're saying goodbye to some of our board members who, 2 of them who are not here. We want to recognize, and Emily, who was here. We have some special gifts for them as well. And then we have a special accommodation for Mr. Mann. So I want to recognize Michelle Skomersky, who could not attend tonight. We spoke about Michelle's contributions to the board and the district at our last meeting. Mrs. Skomersky has done a terrific job as a board member, always advocating for the students, but also doing so through a fiscal mindset, having served on our finance and audit committee. As I mentioned last meeting, during the time of the pandemic, she was an advocate for making sure that we could maintain and increase the number of social workers that we had in the district to serve our kids and to help them with their emotional and mental health. So I want to thank and recognize Mrs. Skomersky. If we could give her a round of applause, even though she's here. Jennifer O'Brien is also not in attendance tonight. Jennifer O'Brien has been a terrific member of the board. She has always been also an advocate for students, always looking at things through a perspective of what can we do for all kids, those kids that need the extra support, as well as those kids that need to be enriched and challenged. And I want to thank Jennifer for her service on the board because she could not be here tonight. We do have a special gift for Jennifer O'Brien as well. So can we hear it for Jennifer O'Brien?
Just before we move on, Michelle did ask that she read a few notes that she wanted to convey again her
Yep.
appreciation. So Kim's going to read a short, brief message from Michelle. She's in Italy, I think.
She's in Italy. So She asked us to read a couple words on her behalf. So, good evening. Hope all is well. As you know, I'm out of the country, so unable to attend this memorable meeting. As such, I asked if someone could please read a few words on my behalf. First, to Jeff, I want to thank you for the many years of amazing collaboration, partnership, leadership, and passion for all our children. I feel beyond blessed to have had the opportunity for us to work together during our years at the district. I would agree with the sentiment that you truly are one of the best decisions this board could make. And it hasn't been easy, and you definitely have had some challenges, including COVID and tough financial situations. You also achieved some astonishing milestones, most recently coordinating and leading our district in the largest capital project in our history. Thank you for all you've done, and especially thank you for your caring, compassionate friendship, and I wish you the best in retirement. But Ted and I hope to see you to catch up during some upcoming sports games, art shows, or music events. To Emily, wow, it has really been a whirlwind from meeting you in 2020 to now. I wanted to thank you so much for your years of service for the district. You're beyond dedicated, giving every student a voice and opportunity. Those traits were demonstrated in every decision you made, and you never backed down from what you believed. And that is an admirable and inspiring trait. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and it's not over yet as I look forward to seeing you, Michelle, and the kids through the neighborhood to have some puppy playtimes. Jen, I'm going to read it even though she's not here. Jen, thank you so much for all your support over the last 4 years. You've been truly an amazing partner with me, and I am so fortunate that we got the chance to reconnect. It's been way too long that we haven't been in contact. In fact, it's probably been since high school. Let's not do that again, because being on and serving with you has truly made me remember how much of an amazing person you are. Your character, dedication, and passion for our hometown is inspiring. The board was very lucky to have you, and I am fortunate to call you my friend. Now, on to Mark. Mark and I and our spouses have known each other and been neighborhood buddies for almost 25 years now. And to say that Mark is one of the most inspiring human beings is an understatement. Mark is selfless in so many ways, from serving into the military to serving the communities, and you always give your all to any and all of your actions. He's truly a wonderful human that people admire and want to be around. I can't express how fortunate we have been to have you on this board for 17 years. Your legacy will last a lifetime, as it should, because you are truly a once-in-a-lifetime person. You have poured your heart and soul into our community, and you will be deeply missed on this board. But the changes and successes you have made leaves a mark in everyone's life that will never fade away. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for being an incredible friend.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you for Michelle.
Absolutely.
Maybe she's watching from the live stream in Italy. I doubt it, but, well, I wanted to say some words of appreciation and recognition, acknowledgement of Emily Steinbeck. When Emily was first elected to the board, you could tell that she had very strong leadership skills, as well as very strong views about the importance of early childhood education. If you couldn't tell it by the first meeting, you could tell it by the third meeting, because as we started to talk about universal pre-K, Emily was not only concerned about making sure that we had a universal pre-K program, but that we continue to develop plans to expand it. Emily is a person who cares deeply about young children. She cares deeply about young families, and she's been an advocate for those groups as well as for everybody in the school district. Additionally, when Emily came onto the board, she wanted to make sure that our district facilitated a sense of belonging and welcoming and acceptance to all students and all families from all different kinds of backgrounds and experiences. And she took the leadership and looking at some of our policies and looking at some of our forms and saying, you know, we need to do a better job of making sure that we're addressing all of our families and all of our kids. And so she really took some concrete leadership steps to help us to get better. So I will miss working with Emily on the board. I'm hoping that we can get her involved in other ways in the school district. But Emily, I thank you for your strong leadership, for your advocacy, and for your friendship. Thank you for your service on the board. Emily Steinbeck. So, token of appreciation from our board for your service. Now we have a special commendation for Mark Mann. Mark Mann has served on the East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education for 17 years. He is our longest serving board member. I'm going to ask the board president to read the commendation, but I wanted to say a few things about Mark. Maybe nobody knows this, but when I first started on July 1st, 2016, Mark Mann was the vice president and he welcomed me to the office. And I just remember that. And he just checked in with me. Mark's kind of a quick and short sentence kind of guy and said, if you need anything, we're around, and just make sure that I got here. And I always remember that. He didn't, you know, he gave me a time to adjust here. I remember Mark asking me about, in the interview process, my experience with school resource officers, and I was fortunate enough to have helped to develop the SRO program, where I've been right out of that interview real quickly in my prior district of Rome. Mark's service to the community goes well beyond his board involvement. He is an active member of the community. He's always doing something to contribute to the betterment of East Greenbush. He has served for years as an East Greenbush police officer and also a Rensselaer County sheriff. And he continues to serve in the National Guard. And he has been deployed in service through the military 2 or 3 times. And his service to the nation is greatly appreciated. So we're going to miss Mark, but we know he'll still be around. I think one of the things I have always enjoyed about Mark is he tells you what he thinks. There's no guessing, and that's appreciated and respected. The other thing I appreciate about Mark is that he not only looked at what was best for all of the students, but he had a passion for making sure that we all understood, and we put programs and pathways in place to ensure that we recognize that not every kid needs to go to a 2-year or a 4-year college. Students can move right into the trades. And he's been the biggest advocate for our CTE programs at Questar 3 BOCES, and he's going to continue to serve on the Questar 3 BOCES board. So for all of those reasons and many, many more, and importantly, his character, I want to thank Mark Mann for his service to the board and to the community. And I'll ask Mr. Temple to read the resolution.
Whereas Mark Mann has dedicated 17 years of exemplary service to the East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education from July 2008 to June 25th, 2025. And whereas during his distinguished tenure, including 11 years as board vice president, Mr. Mann consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the students, staff, and community of East Greenbush Central School District. And whereas Mr. Mann's leadership was characterized by a steadfast prioritization of student needs, while always balancing the educational benefits of programs with fiscal responsibilities to the community's taxpayers. And whereas Mr. Mann consistently advocated that the board's priorities and goals focus on students seeking to graduate and enter into technical trades through expanding student participation in career and technical education, workforce learning opportunities, and partnerships with trade unions, Questar 3 BOCES, and other community agencies. And whereas Mr. Mann consistently prioritized the need for the district to partner effectively with our towns and the broader community. And whereas Mr. Mann provided crucial guidance and direction that helped shape the community's successful approval of a $116 million capital project to improve school facilities and grounds. And whereas Mr. Mann was instrumental in several critical initiatives to enhance school safety throughout the district, including the expansion of the school resource officer program. And whereas Mr. Mann championed significant upgrades to school security, vestibules, and surveillance technology across both school buildings and school buses. And whereas Mr. Mann initiated the Stop Arm Camera Program, a vital measure implemented to reduce instances of motor vehicle operators illegally passing school buses, thereby significantly improving student safety during transportation. And whereas Mr. Mann's foresight, dedication, and prudent decision-making have profoundly impacted the educational environment and overall well-being of the East Greenbush Central School District. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education on this 25th day of June 2025 does hereby formally recognize and express its deepest gratitude and profound respect to Mr. Mann for his 17 years of outstanding and dedicated service. And be it further resolved that this resolution be spread across the minutes of this meeting as a permanent testament to Mr. Mann's invaluable contributions to the East Greenbush Central School District.
As you attend here so long, you get 3 gifts, including a copy of the commendation. Gifts of appreciation. This is special.
Yeah. John.
So I want to just briefly say, I first met Mark at if you remember, the Ed Foundation's dessert nights many, many years ago when I first was going to run for the board. I knew one person, Joanne Taylor, and I looked over my wife, and I said, "Is anybody else here from the board?" And said, "Yeah, Mark Mann, you know him?" I said, "No." He said, and so I went over and introduced myself to Mark, and ever since then he's been a dear friend, a colleague, board member. I can't thank him enough for everything he's done for me. When another thing that was really important to me is when I was approached to become board president, I said, "I won't do it. Ask Mark. He's been of many years of service to the district. He deserves that opportunity. I'd rather you talk to him first and see if he wants to have this leadership role." And we talked it over. He thought it over. And I also said that if I do take this role, I want no one but Mark Mann to be the vice president if he chooses not to be president. And we did some great work together, and he's been a sounding board. Anything I had a question about, I always know I could give Mark a call. He's available anytime. And I appreciate so much his guidance, his wisdom, and his experience on the board, and also in the community. So much things he's done and how well he knew the community. We could always rely on Mark to help us through some difficult times. And I appreciate his friendship and his working together on the board. I know that this last term was something that we talked a lot about, whether we would run again and continue our service. And I think there was still a lot of good work for us to do, including the capital project. And we stuck together. We did a lot of things together with this board, the previous board members, and just having that person who I could go to. I can't thank him enough for everything. And had some good times at school board meetings and school board conferences, all around the state. And gonna miss his service. But he knows we're always up for some other places to go, right, Mark?
Right.
And hang out. So thank you so much for everything, Mark. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to send a thanks to all of our board members. I'm gonna start with Mr. Mann. When I first joined board service, I didn't know what to expect at all. It was very comforting. Like Mr. Mann, I was going. Actually, I was going. It was 4 of us, right? We actually ran in the same election. It was me, Mr. Buno, Mr. Mann, and another candidate at the time. And I just remember the warm welcome, into the district. And immediately you knew my father from prior work, and it immediately made me feel at ease, knowing someone who understood a part of my background, especially being newer to the district. I really appreciate it, your approach, straightforward, as Mr. Simons discussed, always knowing where you stand. And that definitely was an example for myself, and I hope to be a community to serve the community to the extent that you have. And I also want to talk about Ms. Steinbach. She was one of the first people from the board to reach out to me and encourage me to run and to represent, for people who sometimes don't have a voice. And Ms. Steinbach Emily is very, very admirable, not only in her values, but also her work ethic. She not just saying, and I don't always agree, right? But she don't she don't disagree and then just sit there, right? She'll disagree and she'll get ready to do the work, right? She'll just look, this is where we're going, this is what we're gonna do, this is what's good for the district. And I think, it's a loss, for us to miss that ethic, associated with values and deep experience. You really put yourself 100% in this. I think for all board members, it is such an emotional, like the things that we talk about, how deep we got to get into conversations, how all the late nights, right, talking about the things that we talk about is very emotionally vested. And I know it pulls away from a lot of other aspects of life. But for all of our members, they don't shy away from it. They dig in, they do the meetings, and Emily is the foremost. She says more meetings, right? But and I think that sentiment is really across the board. Ms. O'Brien, Ms. Komersky, really we have members that pour their hearts into it. Particularly Ms. O'Brien, Ms. Komersky, they really care. When you talk to them, you can hear in their voice. You can hear their concern. They'll call you late at night. They'll, they'll reach out consistently, and it's all from concern. And I think, that's the challenge with board service is that, or even from an admin perspective, is that it's really heavy. It's a big responsibility, and really digging in. There's a lot that you want to do, and there's a lot of opinions and siphoning through it. And then the challenges that just pops up from an admin perspective, there's a lot of siphoning, and I really appreciate the commitment, to do that time and time again, and I really am sad to see you go. I know you got more in you. I hope you run next year. But really for all of our members. And I also look forward to our new members. It's like bittersweet, right? Like I don't wish the trials upon no one, right? But it's a privilege to be able to serve the community, right, in that capacity and give. And a lot of the times when I talk about tempering, approach and things like that, it's really tailored from just the weight that you feel after, you join the service, right? Because everyone starts feeling and thinking, but I really just want to send everyone, the best wishes and really everyone is the highest caliber role model. And I thank everyone for being an example to me personally and professionally. But
Can I say a few words? Is that all right? Yep. Can I stand up there? Sure. No, I do want to thank everybody for this. This is very nice. Not expected at all, but I do appreciate it. And don't feel bad. I asked Curtis the same questions about the SRO program. Just a little bit about that. So, we started that program here in East Greenbush. East Greenbush Police has been in this district since the early 1980s, when Joe DeSev started the DARE program. And, we continued that in the around 1999, when the school resource officer program kind of came about by the federal government. My first dealing was the board was, at the time, Chief Lavin said, you got to go to the Board of Education and present this program. So myself and Joe DeSev went to a Board of Education meeting. It was actually here at Columbia High School in the cafeteria. And we made the presentation about the school resource officer program, and the board at the time and the superintendent at the time, Terry Brewer, supported it wholeheartedly. And ever since then, it has done nothing but expand and improve. I came in Officer Elaine, now Chief of Police Elaine. We were the original SROs here in the district. When I retired and left, and Elaine became the police chief, and our current town supervisor, Mr. Conway, have always been huge supporters of this district and the safety of the students and the staff of this district, and continue to provide, a strong SRO program here in the district, and continue to do everything in our school district to keep, all our kids safe. So, I really appreciate that. But thank you. Standing before you today, I find myself reflecting on an incredible journey that has been 17 years of serving this school district. It's bittersweet. One filled with gratitude, nostalgia, and excitement for the future of this district. When I first joined the board back in 2008, I had the vision to help shape the school district that nurtures young minds, supports educators, and strengthens our community. Over the years, I've had the privilege of working alongside dedicated volunteers, passionate teachers, staff, and inspiring students. Together, we have faced challenges, celebrated victories, and remained steadfast in our commitment to education. I'm proud of what we have as a board has accomplished. We have improved facilities, made our students, staff, and buildings safer, expanded programs for all our different level of learners, and ensured that every student has access to the resources that they need to succeed. We have navigated difficult decisions with integrity and always kept the best interest of our students, staff, and community at heart. But beyond policies and progress, what I will cherish the most is the friendships built, the lessons learned, and the moments shared. Seeing students thrive as we did tonight, watching our teachers innovate, and witnessing the unwavering dedication of our community has been the greatest reward of all for me. To my fellow board members, past, present, and soon to be, thank you for your volunteerism, collaboration, wisdom, and unwavering support. To the administrators, educators, and staff, thank you for your tireless efforts and commitment to shaping the future of our students. To the parents, students, thank you for trusting us to guide this district with care, professionalism, and purpose. As I step away from this role, I do so with immense pride and confidence in the future of our district. Through my time on the board has come to an end, my belief in the power of education remains strong. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this journey. It has been an honor, and I always will be cheering for the success of our students in the district. And last, I have to thank my wife putting up with me for 17 years doing the board. So thank you.
But before we move on, I just want to say a few words, and should have gone before you, Mark, because I don't have anything prepared, but 17 years is admirable. And, I know that, I've looked up to you and Mike many times, many phone calls. So I appreciate you both and always
Thank
being
you.
available.
Thank you.
I know I don't always agree with everyone around the table. And I always say that I actually think that that's a good thing, that we shouldn't always all agree. When we do, I think we're not asking the right questions or the hard questions. So I hope that, you all will continue to ask the hard questions and do the work. I was estimating recently to my wife, wondering, I wonder how much time, I'll get back in my life. And I was thinking about it, it's probably anywhere from like 15 to 20 hours a week. And I'm like, that sounds like a lot, right? That's a part-time job, but it really is if you put it in the work that you're supposed to. You have to come prepared. You have to read ahead. You have to also go into the schools, go to the events, talk to the, building leaders, and it's a lot. So I, as Jesse had, Superintendent Simons alluded, I'll probably already be finding, I've already, how I'm going to fill that void and then some, but it's been a great honor to serve, and I hope I can find a way to give back in other ways. I just do want to thank my wife, Michelle, because I would never be allowed or be able to come here without her support. Also, my extended family support. I actually had a kid while I was on the board. And I remember some nights really around that like 8 to 9 months saying, man, I really don't want to go. I don't want to put shoes back on. But, you know, we did it and we got through it. But I also want to thank, although they have absolutely no idea, my kids. My kindergartner says, why do you go to so many meetings? Why do you do all these things? And, you know, I think it's a good lesson for him, even as a 6-year-old, how you give back. So, you know, thank you to my kids. Also to, you know, the entire board, and especially for entrusting me with a leadership role. You know, I took that on and, you know, did my best always. I'll just say that lastly, I think like public education, and, you know, my background is in public service, but public education is one of the greatest systems I think our country offers. And I don't think we always get it right and we always hit a home run, but I think it is, when you look at it at its core, it's the hope and the promise that the life of the kids will be better. So than how you were and then how, you know, how it was when you were through. So, you know, I happy to give my time and was happy to sit here with all of you and make some good friendships too. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have a couple things to say. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of our outgoing board members. This one's from me, not from Michelle. And it's going to pale in comparison to everything that's already been said. But I just want to thank them all for their hard work and dedication to the students in our district. I've only been here for a year, but it's been extremely welcoming. And I really enjoyed getting to know everyone better. To Mark, I can't even imagine the number of hours that you have dedicated over the last 17 years. To say thank you seems too simple, but thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
That's all.
Thank you.
I think it's a terrible segue to say we're moving on to the public forum. But we're moving on to the public forum. I will read this preamble. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which may be considered defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there any comments? We have Ms. Allison Savoca. We got a couple hands in the back. Let's see. Let's hear from our teachers. And we're always happy to see such a large crowd, and our teachers in the audience are dedicated members. But
good evening, everyone. Allison Savoca, president of the East Greenbush Teachers Association. This is my last board meeting as the Teachers Association president, so I wanted to make a few remarks of thanks and reflection as well. I too, Emily, don't have anything prepped, so here we go. The first thing that I wanted to just state is how all of these positions that we are in, whether you are a central administrator or a board member or a president or an incoming president, those titles and those roles are bigger than the people. However, it's the people that make those roles effective. And with that said, Ms. O'Brien, Ms. Gomersky, Mr. Mann, Ms. Steinbeck. Thank you for your service as human beings in this entity, doing an incredible job advocating for other human beings. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Your unwavering support of the same individuals that we support, our students, is remarkable. And it's one of the many takeaways as I step away from this role. With collaborative support and initiative and creativity, we can really do anything. And I think that working together has shown us that throughout the years. So personally, professionally, I want to thank you all for working with our members to make our employment better and our students better served. And then finally, I just want to, again, thank Mr. Simons for your service to the EGTA and to our students, and working with the board to ensure that we have the working conditions that we need to support our community. And with that said, I know I mentioned it last time, but Mr. Wagner, Dan Wagner, will be our next president. And so he's going to make us all proud in working with you all and continuing that tradition. So thank you so much.
Dan Wagner, I live at 2 Johnny Place, East Greenbush, New York, secondary vice president. I want to echo everything that Allison said. 17 years mark is really, really phenomenal, and we can't thank you enough for all of your years of service. The Manns are a part of this community. Tina, working with us at the high school, taught your son. We can't say enough about how great the Mann family has been for East Greenbush. Thank you all. Michelle, she's really living it up in Italy. I can see on Facebook. So I'm sure if she's watching right now, stop watching, enjoy Italy. Jen is such a great human being. I'm sure that everybody will echo all the sentiments to her. And Emily, you've really been an agent of change. And thank you for everything that you've done as well. Jeff, I want to personally thank you for advocacy. I feel like I've learned so much from you, and that is a true passion of yours. I could tell you're really good at it. So hopefully you can still help advocate with us and advise us in the future. And thank you, everybody.
Also, I want to wish our members and all of our families a wonderful summer too. Thank you for all your hard work.
We have some other hands in the back for public forum. Let's you right here on the edge. Absolutely, yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rhiannon DiMartino, and I reside at 18 Donnelly Drive. I have 2 wonderful children at Janae Elementary. And I want to say that I was not prepared for waterworks today. I did not bring tissues, but I was like, this is my first board meeting, and I'm like overwhelmed with emotion and just touched by the whole experience. That being said, the purpose of me being here is to plead with you folks. So I have a child who is graduating from kindergarten at Janae Elementary, approaching 1st grade. And just a handful of days ago, I became aware that a 1st grade teacher in Janae is retiring, and the plan is to not backfill behind that teacher, which seems like a logical decision with budgets and things like that. But when we talk about the volume of students that Janae tends to, it's detrimental to our students, our children, and actually the teachers and the staff and the parents that there be another body for the 1st graders, truly. Because my son, who's older, he's approaching 2nd grade, he's in a classroom currently at Janae 1st grade with 22 students in his class. And in preparation for this meeting, I asked him, I decided to pick a 7-year-old's brain. And I said, Bud, what do you think of 22 kids in your class? And he's told me more than once that he felt like he had the most students in his school, which I found out today is not actually true, but his 7-year-old brain thought so. And I think that's actually an interesting piece to dissect, because in his 7-year-old brain, he felt there were so many students in his class, he had the most, there couldn't be any more. And I said to him, how do you feel about 22 kids? And he said, well, it gets noisy. When I'm trying to focus or read, I can't always, and that's distracting. And I don't think he ever really thought about how many students were in his class until I asked him. But he did point out that he sits in the back, and if he has a thought or idea, it's not always addressed, and it's not his teacher's fault. She's overwhelmed, and so sometimes are the students. And I plead with you to reconsider that decision. We need 4 first grade teachers. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And if we're looking at statistically the number of students that Janae gets, we're one of 2 schools in the district that handle E&L kids, which we're happy to do. We love that piece of it. But it's a big ask when we're cutting positions and also offering all these assets and these programs to kids who need them. But we need the support as well. And that's what I'm here to ask you to do, to please reconsider that decision. Support Janae the way we support the rest of the community. It's really essential to reconsider that. And I hope that you guys do consider putting a 4th first grade teacher in place. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I just want to briefly comment, Rihanna. I went to school with you, but I don't know if you remember me. I went to school with you back in the day. Absolutely. My son also goes to Janae, and I just want to say that like literally everyone at the board is concerned always about class sizes. I think, Mr. Simons have a challenging job looking forward with conditions, trying to create a path forward. And I don't think that the board would, like, what I'm saying is that I think the board is completely comfortable with pushing and pressing advocacy to the point that you're expressing here today. Like, that is not something that is absent from our advocacy efforts. I think it's really just finding a path forward. And I don't mean to address specifically, but it's really about finding a path forward today that can work for where we are. Mr. Simons look at all of the programming across all of the schools, the levels that could get accomplished. He creates plans. Like he creates like the budget was like 4 different plans for education. He's plotting like several different plans that he presents, alternatives and different ways of looking at it. And so what I'm trying to say is there's just no shortage of how it gets approached. But I just say that to say that literally that point is being aggressively advocated. And the only reason why it presents today is just because that's just where we find ourselves at as a last resort. And I think Mr. Simon, I don't want to speak for Mr. Simons, and we're always looking as numbers continue to develop over the summer to try to find ways to even improve the today picture. But we kind of put it out to the public so that the community can have a set of expectations, because what we didn't want is community rumblings, not knowing what to expect with the picture, being given that is kind of bleak. So at least this point, we know what we're looking at today, and hopefully we would hope for the picture to improve. But that's kind of,
It doesn't always happen. The summertime, and we hope for improvement, but that's not always the case.
Right, yes.
It could actually go in the other direction and it could be more unfavorable. So, being reactive isn't always best. I understand your position absolutely. But maybe taking a proactive approach and using our time and our resources. I know a lot of people limit my session. So I don't take your words lightly at all. I know that it's a need for you. And I know with you, especially having students that tonight, I genuinely appreciate your words, and I feel that, they are they're not just words, they are heartfelt and impactful, and I think that they are, you mean something by them, but we just have to figure it out. There's not a lot of time, and there's a lot of students, and there's potential that work could be coming. So we're just concerned for our school and our students and our staff. Teachers as well, they deserve better. They really do.
Well, I would like to wait until I know there are a number of parents here that want to speak to the class size issue or maybe some other topics. So I would like to explain the process, but I'd like to wait, Mr. Temple, until after the other parents give an opportunity to speak.
all right. Thank you, Simon.
Just a point of order. Are we doing that? You're responding to the public, or are we doing it during the discussion?
Well, we have a discussion item on the board to
Right.
review the data, so I was thinking that I would respond at that point.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Hi, I'm Megan Hart. I live at 102 Horizon View Drive. I am a mom of 3 students right now at Janae. They are soon to be 5th grader, 4th grader, and 1st grader, which is why I'm also here. I love Janae. When I was house hunting, I specifically had a very small margin to look for because I wanted to be in that school. I had experience for my son going through speech therapy and everything, and met Mr. Gignon, and that was the school I wanted my kids to be in. Kind of go through, Rhiannon said a lot of what I wanted to say, but with 24 kids in a class, you have kids that are learning, they're developing their social emotional skills, they're learning how to be a student. This is the most critical time in their school career to learn how to be a student. And having classrooms overwhelmed with high volume of students, a mixture, it doesn't give them the opportunity to be the best student. And if we don't give them the opportunity or give teachers the opportunity to find maybe the student who's falling behind because they have a disability or they need just extra help, if we're not focusing on that and have classrooms too big, these kids are never going to excel. So focusing on smaller classrooms at the younger age is critical. I'm a mom of a son who has a speech delay, and it's been phenomenal, the help that he's gotten. I've watched him this year. He got a new teacher. He was really excited. We found out 2 days before school started that he was getting a new teacher. He's like, the one thing I want a male. He got a new teacher, a very young teacher, and this kid has taken off and has excelled. I want that for all my kids in their experience at Janae, and I think it can happen. I don't think it's too much to rearrange things. I've worked on budgets. I know it's hard. I know it's not fun trying to cut here to make something work there, but this is critical for the kids and their future and their development. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Wolfer. I live at 15 Wyatt Circle. I have 4 children in this district who will range between UPK and 9th grade for the 2025-26 school year. I grew up here. I went to school here. I recognize some teachers that I had here. And I truly love this district. That's why I didn't leave. Here on behalf of my kindergarten student and his classmates who cannot speak for themselves, I'm also joined by other parents here and some who could not make it. We would like to express our concerns about the estimated 1st grade class sizes at Janae next year. We really appreciate the transparency demonstrated by the recent publishing of the district-wide numbers. As of the budget workshop on April 22nd, the projected average of 1st grade class sizes was 18.7, yet the chart that you have on the agenda from tonight shows an average of 20.7. So we would like to know what changed between April 22nd and the chart dated on June 19th. We are asking for equality and equity across the district. We are asking you to seriously consider adding back a 4th grade section of 1st grade at Janae. Janae is one of the 2 ANL buildings in the district, which requires increased time, planning, and resources from teachers. There were at least 12 new 1st graders added to Janae in the current school year. If that trend continues, you're looking at least 28 students per class next year. If a 4th section of 1st grade is added at Janae, the average class size will still be higher than the lowest class average if you look at the entire district. We know there is a cap on class sizes which has not been reached. There is a great potential that we will reach that cap next year. We are asking you to consider that the cap does not provide our children with the quality educational atmosphere they deserve. Would you be comfortable putting your 6-year-old in a class of 27 students? We are confident in all of the teachers in the district and know that the 1st grade team is ready to handle anything, but no teacher, regardless of how good they are, can provide the quality education our students deserve at these numbers. The newly graduated kindergarten students are accustomed to smaller class sizes. Putting that many students together will cause a significant challenge for a teacher trying to manage behaviors while providing differentiated instruction, small group instruction, social emotional lessons, teaching them how to read, and more. Our children are the most vulnerable during their earliest years of learning. East Greenbush has been voted the #1 school district 4 years in a row. We're proud to have our students attend here. We are asking you to continue providing the sound educational experience our young learners deserve by adding back the 4th section of first grade at Janae. Thank you for your time and all you do for our students.
Hi. Hi, my name is Casey Pappas. I live at 257 Mannix Road, and I have a son that goes to Janae Kindergarten, just graduated, and will be going into the first grade class. When I found out the news of the first grade class being cut, it was a little alarming given the fact that my child has been diagnosed with ADHD, and knowing that knowing that the class size is going to increase is not going to be great for his learning atmosphere. I can tell you now that he already struggles with transition as it is, and there's enough distractions going on in a first grade classroom to begin with. I urge you and plead also, along with my fellow parents, that this is not the right move. We need to have a 4th grade teacher, because not only is it going to put pressure on the teachers, it's also going to put pressure on parents. I know I work full-time. I'm sure there's many parents who also are working parents and trying to make this work, but I guarantee that the teachers are then going to be asking for volunteers from the parents to try to come in and help in any aspect. And we are gladly able to do that. I know anytime there's an opportunity to volunteer, I am there and I'm willing to volunteer. I'm very concerned about the children who have accommodations already in place, and I strongly am urging you to consider somewhere, find the money to provide a first grade teacher. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening to me.
Hi, my name is Sophia Angwer. This is my husband, Brad Angwer. We reside at 6 Leslie Circle. I'm speaking on behalf of a future first grader. Our son is going into first grade at Janae next year. And we actually have that whole row of parents of future first graders. So we've reviewed the 2025-2026 class sizes, the projected class sizes, and we're concerned about the number for the first grade class in Janae. We're the biggest school, accounting for more than 25% of the students across the 5 elementary schools. And these are our youngest learners, and there's no TA support in the first grade classroom, which I just found out a couple days ago. This is when the teachers need to give the first graders the individualized attention, since they're such young learners, extra support and early intervention that's needed. As a group of parents, we are advocating for our kids because we're concerned that the current class size proposal will hinder the teachers from these goals. The inequality of class sizes across the first grade classes within the district was alarming, and I should say the proposed class sizes. It doesn't seem equitable to have one school with 16 kids per class while another school has 24 kids per class. These estimates don't factor in kids that will move into the district throughout the summer in September and mid-year. So we're concerned that the class size will grow even larger. One question that we have is related to E&L, just from understanding the numbers, and maybe this is something Mr. Simons can explain later, but we are aware that Janae is an E&L school. Do the class size proposals include E&L numbers from other schools? So for example, our Janae numbers have an average class size of 24, and Belltop has 16. Does the 16 in Belltop include any E&L kids that are coming to Janae? And if it does, that just means our Janae class size is actually going to be higher than 24. We appreciate your time today, and thanks again for your consideration.
Hi, I'm Kim Tuttle. I live at 11 Denise Court. I just wanted to say that I'm concerned about the class sizes for next year. I have 2 kids at the district at the largest elementary school, one of who will be in 1st grade. I looked at the class sizes for Janae and saw that there will be 24 kids per class, the largest class size across the 5 elementary schools. 1st grade is such a change from kindergarten, and Janae is one of the 2 schools who have ENL students. It is scary to think that if anyone else moves into the district, there will be over 24 kids per class. The classrooms at Janae are already very small. When you go in to visit your children, there is almost no space to move around as it is. We are a district who is ranked #1, but we aren't really showing that to our students and most importantly, our youngest learners. This is a disservice to them. Having a larger class size and not more TAs to support that takes away from the kids. It puts pressure on teachers who already have enough work cut out for them. Janae has an amazing team with one of the most hands-on principals who is there for the students in every way that he can be. I'm aware that it is beyond his control and this leaves gaps to fill, unfortunately. You say you want what's best for the students at East Greenbush Central School District, but with the cuts that took place, it seems hard to believe. I hope you will rethink the cuts and reinstate a teacher for Janae at the 1st grade level. Thank you for all you do.
Hi, my name is Diana Vance. I'm at 20 Kitty Lane. I have children, Janae. They've said everything already. I just wanted to stand up and support everything they're saying and express that I have the same concerns that my child going into 1st grade is going to have a big class. It's going to be overwhelming on everybody there. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Kitalowski, 435 Elliott Road in East Greenbush. I have a soon-to-be 6th grader at Goff, and I have a soon-to-be 1st grader at Janae. We've loved everything about Janae. This is my first Board of Education meeting because it's the first thing I've really been concerned about, and I only just learned about it. So I have nothing prepared. I know my daughter who's going into 1st grade, and with a class size of potentially 24, 25, 26, 27, she is going to be distracted. She's going to be lost, and I don't want it to affect the rest of her education at Janae. These are formative years, really important for learning. I think the more attention at the younger age, the better. So I'm really looking forward, Superintendent, to hearing potentially the rationale behind why this position to be cut. When we had 4, why 3 now? So thank you, appreciate it.
Hopefully I'm the last one you have to listen to. My name's Danica Green. I'm at 101 Working Road, and I have 2 daughters at Janae, one going into 1st grade. I also grew up here. I went through East Greenbush schools, had a great experience. I'm just going to keep this to the facts. There's currently 18 kids per class plus aides. Next year going to 24 would likely at minimum, because Janae has historically seen more of an influx than a decrease. Adding another class would likely bring the minimum to 18, which puts the class size closer to the median elementary school class size rather than second from the top. Just a reminder that the recent budget increase was well above the tax cap, and this was not shown until after that increase passed. Thank you for your time and consideration. It's much appreciated.
Any more public comments? Mr. Conway?
My name is Jack Conway. I'm the town supervisor for the town of East Greenbush. I want to thank and congratulate Emily, Jennifer, and Michelle on their service. Now, Mark Mann is a different story. I got elected 10 years ago as supervisor, and 20 minutes later, Mark retired. Now, there are a lot of theories on why that happened, but here's mine. He went through boot camp, police academy, many years in the military, multiple deployments, 20 years as an East Greenbush policeman, but then he ran into me. And he figured I was going to be too tough and therefore he retired. But the real thing I want to say about Mark is in January of 2016, I took office. February of 2016, Mark Mann walks in my office with manuals and paper like this. And he said, "Do you know what it means for a police department to be accredited?" And I said, "I'm an academic. I know what accreditation is in that world." And he explained it to me, and only the best 25% of departments in this state are accredited. But in 2017, we got accredited, thanks to Mark. And in 2022, we got reaccredited. And in 27, we'll get reaccredited again. Great job, Mark. Great job for the town. Great job for the country. Thank you. But what I'm really here is because my friend Jeff Simons is retiring. Jeff and I came in the same year. And there's many things I could talk about, but the one thing I do want to talk about is COVID. Every Friday morning, superintendent, the chief of police, myself, Jill Hughes at the library, Shannon Romanowski at the Y, we would have a Zoom meeting because it was the beginning of COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. I got called the park Nazi because I closed the parks. I mean, it was nuts. And when people say to me, was it difficult managing a town government during COVID? My reflex response every time I've been asked that question is I had it easy compared to my friend Jeff Simons. Because every Friday, this man would come on to the Zoom meeting with his eyes cross-eyed because the latest missive from Governor Cuomo had come down to the school districts and nobody, and I mean nobody, understood what they meant. So what I want to say, I want to put this on the public record. Nothing like COVID has ever happened before. No superintendent of schools ever had to deal with that. And we came out of it still number one. And I watched Jeff Simons, the model of level-headed, clear-headed professionalism. And I was in awe of it. I come from an academic background where in colleges, town and gown is a relationship they talk about. When I got elected, there was no relationship between town and gown in the town of East Greenbush. And Jeff and I set out to change that. We did it to the point where Jim McHugh is on the town board. I was going to come tonight with a sign that said "Free Jim McHugh," but that's your business, not mine. But I do want to say on behalf of the town, excuse me, of East Greenbush, thank you, Jeff. On a personal level, thank you for your kindness, for your collegiality. More importantly, you are a great role model. For the next budget presentation I do is going to be a straight rip from Jeff Simons. and above all else, Godspeed, my friend.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Dr. Conway.
Good evening. I'm Elaine Rudzinski. I'm the Chief of Police of the town of East Greenbush. First, I just wanted to thank Michelle, Jennifer, and Emily, who I have not met formally, for all your service and dedication, specifically because we appreciate the support for the safety aspect. Obviously, we've partnered with that for years, stemming back to my old partner here, Mark. I'll get to in a sec, but thank you, ladies, very much. Mark and I go way back over 30 years together. He did suck me into the SRO program, probably kicking and screaming a little bit, to be honest, because I was still loving working the street. But I'll tell you, it was the best experience, and I'm so glad he did get me involved in it. We worked so close together. I was, as Tina will say, his work wife, leaving him notes to do, honey-do list at work continually, and he would leave them for me. And he was always just so dedicated to the safety for the schools. Coming from the police and the military background, we always knew having him on this board was just an in for us, because we knew no matter who changed in the seats that we'd always have an advocate. And then having had John here too with the police experience was huge, because there's been times that so many school districts have struggled with that relationship. And we always felt so confident that as the seats changed hands, that we always had Mark here steering the ship on our behalf, always with initiatives and ideas. not just for the SRO programs, but our, the safety of the school, drills and all the things, the way that we've handled it. I could just speak personally. Mark has, as I believe you mentioned, I can't imagine how many hours that he has put in here, just knowing there's been times that he's missed events, so many over the 30 years with us, because he had things to prepare and priorities, and they were clearly in the right place. So I know you will be sorely missed here. You've been missed at the police department. We're hiring. You have a little free time. Right, Ross? So we'll waive the psych. You can come back. So thank you so much for everything, my friend. I'm also here for my friend, Mr. Simons, who I did prepare a little something. So he may get the joke, some others may not, but I just want to sincerely thank you for not just being a partner, but an ally, sometimes my alarm clock, for all your early morning and late hour calls. His wife gets it. It's not, and an honorary member of our police department, because he's definitely got some mad detective skills, I'll tell you that. So we appreciate that. He's been a constant force of calm communication and collaboration with our police department, whether it's been regarding a school safety issue, an emergency weather forecast, an update, or simply one of those "you're not going to believe this just happened" type of situations. His collaboration with our department has not only enhanced our school safety, but also fostered trust, communication, and respect between all of our officers and the school district and the people that you lead here, as well as the families and the students in the district. Your dedication to not only the safety, but also the well-being of all of our students, staff, and family members, and the entire East Greenbush community has been unwavering through every initiative, challenge, and opportunity that's been presented that has strengthened the bond between our schools and law enforcement. You've led all of these with integrity, compassion, and a shared vision of a safer, stronger future. Thank you for all your years of dedicated teamwork and around-the-clock reliability. You've been more than a superintendent. You've been a true partner in public safety. And while I may not miss your early morning calls and late night calls, as amusing as a few of them have been over the years, the East Greenbush Police Department will miss working closely with you. We look forward to continuing to building our relationship with this district in your absence, and your legacy will lead on here. Is that the right word? I don't know now. So thank you so much for everything you've done. I'm gonna miss you.
Appreciate it. Hi, Tom Grant, 23 Celeste Drive. I'm a county legislator. I represent East Greenbush, North Greenbush, and Poston Kill. Congratulations to Emily, Jennifer, and everybody else who's left. Thank you for your service. Mark Mann, my gosh, what can you say about Mark Mann? He's done it all. His career of service to East Greenbush and the community is unparalleled. He's done a remarkable job both in this country and outside of our country. I like to think that Mark's preparation, or Mark's work in the police department and on the Board of Education has uniquely prepared him for his role as head of the bingo group at the East Greenbush Helps. You talk about a tough crew. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that, or much better than that. But I'm also here for Jeff Simons. I'm here on behalf of my legislative colleagues, Kelly Hoffman, Leon Fiacco, and Rob Bailey. I asked the other Mark if there's anything in particular he wanted me to say about Jeff today. He said, look, you could say anything you want, but the less you say, the more to be appreciated. So taking that into account, I just want to say a few things. I would argue that Jeff, and thank you, Pam, for all your work over the years and keeping Jeff together in one piece. I would say, without any argument at all, that Jeff Simons is the most consequential school superintendent East Greenbush has ever had in its history. And we've had some real good ones. Jeff's been through, as Jack mentioned, COVID, enrollment fluctuations, falling off the cliff as far as birth rates go, coming back off the cliff. Now I hear we've got some issues in the first grade with class size. But if anybody can resolve that, I think it's Jeff Simons as he's gradually leaving, I think. But I think that's going to be resolved, because if anybody can do it, it'll be Jeff and the team here on the school board. And I think we're all very fortunate as residents of East Greenbush to have had the influence of Jeff over the years. It's interesting. Jeff comes on, I think in 2016. Yes. Passes a major bond issue at that point as he comes in. I think it was like 37 million or something like 39.7. 39.7. They didn't tell me about that when they
hired me though, Tom.
Okay. And then now as he's leaving for the new superintendent to come in, passes another major bond issue. So that says a lot about the continuity of East Greenbush and the role of superintendents in this community. People come in, they leave, and they take care and they make sure that we have an effective government in the school for their successor. I don't think there's a better tribute to that than making sure that when you leave a job, as Jeff is doing, and having a new successor come in, other than the problems in the first grade class, which I know again is going to be resolved, that this district is in financial great shape and is overall is known as the best school district in the capital region. That doesn't happen by accident. So on behalf of my legislative colleagues, I have a resolution that passed unanimously in the Rensselaer County Legislature. And again, that's not an easy thing either, and if you follow the Rensselaer County Legislature. Commending Jeff's service and recognizing his accomplishments and achievements over the years. If I could present this, I'd appreciate it. That's Jeff. Oh. Jack and Elaine, do you think? Yeah. Jack, come on up, Elaine.
Okay.
This way. Here. One, two. Thank you.
So if I could say a few things in response to my partners. I did come here in 2016, and after being a long-term administrator in my hometown and Rome, New York, and now I feel like East Greenbush and the entire community of the school district is my hometown because of the way I've been treated and the support, the guidance, the respect that I've been given by all of our Board of Education members that I've served with over the last 9 years. Terrific teachers and support staff, none better in our district. The families, the communities, the advocates, evidenced tonight by people advocating for their students, the elected officials, police department, and most of all, our special wife, Pam. It's not easy to be the spouse of a superintendent. Okay, and we've been doing it together for 18 years. And so I want to thank publicly my wife, Pamela Morocco-Simons, for being my partner for 30 years and for putting up with this for 18 of those 30 years, most of our marriage. So it's been a special privilege for me to be the superintendent here. I can't think of any better way to end my career. I have not been successful alone. I have been supported by a terrific administrative team. Okay, we mentioned the pandemic tonight. Our team, principals, directors, assistant superintendents, we all worked together on that, and we came together as a result of it. And we are a special group, and I think we've bonded, and we have a tremendous sense of family and responsibility for the district and for each other. So I want to thank my administrative team, those that are no longer here and those that are currently here, for helping me be successful. And there has been a really special person contributing to my success over the last 6 years. And that is my secretary, Stephanie Reamer, who is like the air traffic controller for the school district.
keeping everything coming into a smooth landing. And she does a tremendous amount of work, not only to prepare for these board meetings, but also on the day-to-day stuff, to keep things off my plate, to solve problems and to keep me organized. And I'm not probably an easy man to keep straight and organized. So I appreciate all that you have done for me, Stephanie. Well, I haven't liked some of the shenanigans around the office lately with not knowing what was going on here tonight. I do appreciate it. The work that you and Jean do together, Jean as well as the board clerk, is terrifically supportive of what we do leading up to these nights. They're like sisters, they're always working together and helping us all be successful. So I hope I didn't miss anybody. My daughters are not here, but my daughters are special to me, as anyone's children are. My daughter Kayla graduated from this district. I can't think of a better place for her to go to school. We moved here at a time when she was in the 5th grade and moving into the 6th grade. So it made sense to us to do that at the time. And people welcomed her with support, open arms. And I remember Mr. Grignon was the principal at the middle school at that time. And my wife still says today, I don't know if she loved me more or you, Wayne. She's often saying, I love that Mr. Grignon. Every time she sees him on Facebook, I love that Mr. Grignon. And made our daughter feel special. And my older daughter moved here at a tough time. We moved here when she was a sophomore in college. And as actually was tougher on her, I think, in some ways, to leave a community that she was very invested in, than it was my younger daughter. And so I want to thank Allie and Kayla, who are not here tonight. They've always been a tremendous support for me. And I love all of you dearly. So thank you all. I appreciate that you've taken some time and effort to make this night special. I appreciate the elected officials and the chief who have very busy schedules coming out tonight. And I want to thank the Board of Education. This is a tireless, thankless role that you serve in, but it is a very rewarding role and you do it terrifically. And again, all the board members that came before you, and especially the board that hired me here and gave me the chance to be the superintendent of the greatest district in New York State. I'm deeply, deeply honored and appreciative of it. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Got to get back to board docs.
Okay. So we are not done.
The shenanigans continue.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk tomorrow, Steph.
So we're going to go to our video messages from Assemblyman
It would have gone on so long.
Good evening, everybody. And to Jeff, his family, friends, members of the school board, and the East Greenbush community. We are finishing up our legislative session today, and interestingly enough, you're gathered this evening to finish up and celebrate Jeff's career in education for over 33 years. Sadly, due to a family commitment out of town, I cannot attend this evening, but I just want to share with all, of which many of you know. For the past 13 years, I've been working in the Assembly, and for the past several years, I've had a great opportunity to work very closely with Jeff. I've seen firsthand his commitment to the students, to the families, to the staff, to the board, to the community at large, and his ability to advocate for what the district needs are. Whether it was expanding to pre-K or improving the school facilities, he always put the community needs first. Jeff, your work, your friendship, your genuine care for students and staff have made a lasting impact. On behalf of so many, thank you, congratulations, and best wishes for a well-earned retirement. Thank you.
Next is Senator Ashby.
I'm New York State Senator Jake Ashby, and I want to congratulate Dr. Simons on his decades of work in the educational field. You've no doubt influenced and impacted hundreds, thousands of people in your endeavor. Thank you, Dr. Simons.
Next,
I want to thank Assemblyman McDonald and Senator Jake Ashby, and I want to thank especially Senator Jake Ashby for the honorary degree that I never had the time to earn being a superintendent. So it's been a privilege working with two great legislators that represent our schools so well.
Perfect. Then next, we have a proclamation. Is Miss Emily Steinbach, I'm sorry. We'll bring this over here. Absolutely. Have our fierce advocate presented to retiring superintendent, Mr. Simons.
Whatever you want to do. You're the boss. Whereas Mr. Jeffrey P. Simons has devoted 33 years of unwavering service to the field of education, including 9 distinguished years as superintendent of schools for the East Greenbush Central School District. And whereas under Ms. Simons' exceptional leadership, the East Greenbush Central School District attained numerous accolades, including being voted Best School District in the Capital Region on 4 occasions, recognized as a top workplace 3 times, and earning the esteemed National Blue Ribbon School designation. And whereas Mr. Simons consistently championed both academic and extracurricular excellence, expanding the district's athletics offerings by adding 5 new sports and fostering a culture of integrity and teamwork that led to the district receiving the State Sportsmanship Award 5 times, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And whereas Mr. Simons demonstrated remarkable foresight and leadership in the development and execution of the 2024 Building a Bright Future capital project, including the creation of the new golf athletic turf field, a facility that will serve students and the community for years to come. And whereas the East Greenbush Central School District, its Board of Education, staff, students, and community members deeply value Mr. Simons' legacy of excellence, dedication, and forward-thinking leadership. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of East Greenbush Central School District formally honors and expresses its deepest gratitude to Mr. Jeffrey P. Simons upon his retirement, and it be further resolved that in recognition of his outstanding contributions and lasting impact on the district, the golf athletic turf field shall be henceforth be named Simons Field, as a tribute to his enduring legacy and commitment to the students and families of East Greenbush. And be it finally resolved that in recognition of your outstanding leadership, unwavering dedication, and tireless commitment to the students, staff, and community of the East Greenbush Central School District, we commend your vision and guidance, which have significantly shaped the success of our school community. As you retire, we extend our deepest gratitude and heartfelt best wishes for a fulfilling and joyful new chapter in your life.
See, now, if I knew you were doing all of that, I would have saved my remarks for the end. That is just, we did a podcast, Mark and I, yesterday, and Mark was asking me some really tough questions about what it felt like to be retiring as a superintendent, what were my favorite things that happened here in East Greenbush, and I couldn't pinpoint one favorite thing because underlying all of it was the special sense of community and the support that this district brings to the educational process. Any superintendent would pinch themselves to be the superintendent here, and I did for the last 9 years. To have the board do something like this for me and for my recognition is, I don't know what to say. Other than, well, I don't feel deserving of it. I'm proud of it. And I am proud mostly of the teamwork and the effort and the community spirit by which all of us have gone about our work to educate the kids for the last 9 years. And so when you ask me what I think I'm most proud of is the fact that that is how the East Greenbush School District goes about taking care of its kids. And I'm really honored by this, and probably should have more to say about it, but the only thing I will say is now I need to make sure that even though I'm not the superintendent, that project is done really well, because my name literally is on it. Thank you all very, very much. That's really special. Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Very nice. Get a quick photo, maybe. Photo. Well, very, very much.
Okay, we're gonna have a brief break for refreshments. So, absolutely.
Really. Taking a break?
Yeah, quick break. Gonna skip to the cell phone portion of the agenda presentation. We have 2 students presenting, so we're gonna want to get them, and they got an early schedule in the morning. And I'm so sorry to the Science Olympiad team for losing sight of the other students that were here. I appreciate Ms. Van Orton advocacy on that behalf. But let's move on to the cell phone presentation. Give Mr. Simons a second to set up, and yeah, we'll move right into it.
Awesome, thank you. So we have been working with our students, some of our board member representatives, parents, teachers, and non-instructional staff at the high school and the middle school before the governor and the legislature passed the law requiring a bell-to-bell ban on all internet-enabled electronic devices, commonly referred to as the cell phone ban, but the ban applies to all internet enabled personal electronic devices at all levels, elementary, middle school, and high school. So we've put together a plan and a policy, and we're in the process now of informing our board about what those policy recommendations and practices are going to be. And then we're hoping that at the first meeting in July, the board will be able to adopt the policy so that we can prepare our students, our faculty and staff, and our community for this change in expectations regarding cell phones and other internet devices. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wagner and our excellent students who have been advising us in this area, and take it away.
I'll let the students do all the speaking because they've done a great job. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Miriam Content, and this is Mania Madan. We are 2 out of the 4 representatives of students on the cell phone committee. So the cell phone committee was established in October of last year, and it was composed of administrators, students, teachers, faculty, board members, and parents of students of the East Greenbush community. The goal of this band was to revise the cell phone policy at Columbia High School And along the way, we visited schools like Troy and Bethlehem, and we observed how their cell phone policy had been changed over the year. We saw yonder pouches, we saw different ways that student lives have been improved because of their new cell phone policy. As we were at these high schools, a rising problem that we've seen among students is that is because of the harmful effects of phone use in their daily lives. It is necessary to extinguish these negative effects, and the classroom is the ideal place to start.
A little bit about what the state mandate means. It's going to be bell to bell. So as students walk in at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're going to lock up their phones, and they will be released at 2:03. So this does not apply to after school activities. What all internet-enabled devices means is that both Apple Watches and AirPods will be included in the ban. So upon arrival, students are going to enter, as they usually do, through the main lobby, and they're already going to have their yonder pouches on them, and they will place their phones, watches, everything, and just lock it up. And then throughout the school day, they will all be locked up, and if a student is seen with a cell phone, they will be subjected to disciplinary measures. At dismissal, both the main lobby and the west lobby will be opened up, and unlocking mechanisms will be placed in both lobbies, and students will leave as normal. A little bit about the yonder pouches. They are made out of fabric, but once the cell phone is inside, all active cell signals will be blocked and will be completely isolated. They have a magnetic unlocking device, and it works very similar to what you see in clothing stores, on tags in clothing stores. The main benefit of the yonder pouch is that throughout the school day, students will still get to keep their phones on their person, so they can be at ease in that aspect, but it'll be completely distraction-free.
Some of the benefits of this new policy is that the whole goal of this new cell phone policy is a distraction-free learning environment for students. So there's going to be a reduction of distractions in classroom, which should lead to better test scores, students doing better on homework assignments and school-related activities. There will be a decrease in incidents related to cyberbullying and social media conflicts. Over the years, there has been a dramatic increase in student mental health problems, and we believe a reason for that is cell phones and social media. So we are hoping that now there will be no more videoing of fights, no more people feeling left out because they're not in this, because no one's going to have their phone on them. And we're trying to promote a more face-to-face social interaction between not only students, but student and teachers to build those relationships for the real world. If a student is seen using an internet-enabled device throughout the day when they're not supposed to, they will be sent to the main office. And if they become a repeated offender, they will be put on a tracking list that will be sent to all faculty and staff. There are consequences that range from a first offense to a fifth offense. If a student reaches a fifth offense, he or they will have to leave their cell phones in the main office during the day for the rest of the school year. And this could lead to more dramatic consequences like IIS or outside of school suspension based on how much the student has violated the code of conduct at that point.
So some exceptions to the cell phone ban are going to be translating services for non-English speaking students, as well as medical exceptions, diabetic students who need to use their cell phones to monitor glucose levels. Students with disabilities will also be exempt, and they will fill out a medical form, and they can then submit that form. One exception that's not going to be included is students with anxiety. As a committee, we believe that cell phones only increase student anxiety, and this ban will actually be beneficial to their mental health. Per the state mandate, there needs to be at least one way for students to be able to contact their parents throughout the school day. Here at Columbia, we have two. In the main office, there will be 2 phones. Students can come down to the main office and call their parents, or parents can call the main office and speak to their students throughout the school day. Additionally, student emails will be opened up to 2 parents or guardians. However, all the rest of the school outside emails will still be blocked, so privacy is kept.
Some frequently asked questions that we've had is what happens, God forbid, if there is an emergency or an active shooter situation. We've talked to police departments, and it's more detrimental having 1,200 students all texting their parents, blocking cell signals when the police are trying to get in contact with faculty and administrators. While if we can keep the situation calm, but parents are still alerted with what's going on with their children, it will be more helpful with all the cell phones away. And if worse comes to worse, teachers can take scissors and just cut open their pouches because it is fabric.
Additionally, what happens if a student damages their pouch or forgets their pouch? If a pouch is damaged, students will be subjected to a fee. It's about $30, and they'll pay that, get a new pouch. If they forget their pouch, their phone will just be left at the main office for the duration of the school day.
If a student is a repeated offender of not bringing their pouch to school that day, they will just leave their phone in the main office all day. Or if a student has to leave school that day, they can just walk down to the main office. There'll be an unlocking mechanism right in there. They can just unlock it and walk out of the door. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. But before we go, does anyone have any questions about the new cell phone policy?
Can you explain why the yonder bags were selected just for the high school? And the middle school is going to continue to do what they were doing because they've been very successful the last 2 years with having the students put them in their lockers. And at the elementary level, the students can keep their devices in the backpack, or they can turn them into the main office or keep them in their cubby. But explain why the high school, based on the recommendations of the students, chose the yonder bag method where we could have picked any method we wanted for storage.
So as mentioned, Gulf Middle School puts their phones in their lockers, but here at Columbia High School, not many people use their lockers. Didn't even know I had a locker assigned to me at the beginning of this year. Found out during this cell phone committee stuff. So that would be a big change. And additionally, we believe that students will just go to their lockers in between classes and be like rushing to their lockers and spend those 5 minutes just like hurtled in front of their locker. The yonder pouch, it's kind of allows for more disconnection and more accountability, less taking accountability on the students' parts, just like ultimately disconnected.
The other thing that Bethlehem and Troy they've been having this policy for a few years now. High school students really are wedded to their phones. And just having the security of having it on their person in a pouch that's inaccessible helps them to be able to make the adjustment to not being on their phone and checking social media all the time. So based on the experience of the company and the experience of school districts, in addition to the 2 reasons that our students mentioned regarding the lockers and the experience of the districts that are using these pouches, is that it provides more security, helps the kids transition better.
Very good job. Thank you. That's awesome. Was this communicated to the students this year that are coming back next year? Or is it going to be communicated at the beginning of the year?
So we have a podcast that we've already recorded, and it's being communicated to the students this year that it will be next year. I take every opportunity I can, Mark, to let the students know I can't wait till next year when I don't see any of these phones outside.
We can have Mr. Harkin come up too if you want to explain some of the things that we are doing to communicate the policy.
So we had the podcast go out. We're beginning it now with these board meetings. We had the kids develop this. I mean, and Manya will tell you, they were against this at first. They were on the committee. Kathy's been on at all the meetings as well, and they were trying to come up with all the reasons why not. Now they're totally sold. We haven't paid them any money, I promise you.
And we had at least 5 or 6 students involved.
So we have had several students in February when the ban was announced by the governor come up and speak to us, and we've explained to them that, yes, we plan to implement the policy. We've been talking about it with the podcast, and then we have mailers and things that are ready to go once the policy is approved here by the Board of Education. We plan to make videos over the summer and send the videos to the students. So they'll show that we'll use our students here walking in, locking their phones. So we're going to try to be as public as possible so there's no confusion. The very first day, they will not have their pouches. They'll get them in first period and they'll lock them in the beginning of the day at 7:20. But then, as the ladies explained, moving forward, every morning they will walk in and lock their phones. We have a lot of work ahead of us this summer to inform our families and our students, but I would say about 90% of the students are aware of the ban and are prepared for it. They're just not prepared for what method we're going to use.
Thank you.
So students who don't bring their yonder pouch, we have like a supply of them or something, and then they'll.
We'll have to put them in the office.
Just go right to the
The
main
office.
office.
Yeah, I'd go in the main office, Mr. Buno.
And then
Can we take any questions from the audience, Mr. Temple? We have a question from the audience.
They just close it. There's a little,
They have to lock it themselves.
tab. They just press the tab and it locks.
It does, and then you can't open it. I've done it. I was like, oh, how's this work? And then I locked my phone in it at a conference.
Put it on the magnet. You just tap the tab again. It pops right up.
And how are you gonna have staff, like, so your phone, your house, you feel the couch, make sure your phone is in it, what's
We're going to start with the honor system and hope that they do it. A lot, we have about 500 to 600 kids that go to breakfast each morning. So we'll figure we can see a good number of kids in there, make sure they don't have it. First period, teachers will remind them again, but after that, it's a trip to the office. Your phone is confiscated for the day. You go on to the tracking sheet and we keep track of it, and parents will get a phone call.
As soon as we see one, we're gonna have a script. And we're gonna send you right to the office.
Is the district purchasing the yonder pouches?
We have a resolution on the agenda and a quote. We had to go out to bid for speccing this, and it is on the agenda for.
Is there any monies associated with this?
The state is indicated in the budget that there are monies being provided to schools, but honestly, it really isn't going to be sufficient to
For the
cover
yonder?
all the expenses. It's about $0.05 a kid, from what we're hearing. So, from across the whole state. So, and it's not clear yet. It hasn't been, the school districts haven't been advised by the state as to what the method of claiming that money will be. So it's still up in the air, but there are monies allocated in the state budget for implementing the policy. But
Is it a reimbursable purchase?
it would likely be partially reimbursable.
okay.
Typically how the state funds things is we would submit documentation and try to get a approved claim.
Yeah.
But
I
it won't
think-
cover the full expenses. This is coming out of current year's general fund money.
But you'll have to buy a new class every year. We'll need a new pouch, right?
The seniors will turn it in just like they turn their Chromebooks in when they graduate, and then we'll just recycle them into ninth grade. The shelf life right now, Gilderland or Bethlehem's on their 3rd year. He says they're still in good working condition. So we're hoping to get 5 years out of each set. So hopefully we'll just replace as needed. And like the ladies explained, there will be a $30 charge for anyone that damages or loses their pouch. That's the cost to replace it.
Yeah.
We would make exceptions for students who don't have, families don't have the resources to do that. Or if in the case of, and you'll see this in the policy, if someone else damages someone's yonder pouch in an incident, we would make an exception for those kinds of situations.
Yeah, that's great. I think that we need to make exceptions for those students who, yeah, perfect.
I did want to ask, just let's get Mr. Panaski's, all right. I did just want to add, I had 2 primary concerns. One was making a trip of parents to the schools. None of our schools are bus accessible. When I first joined the board, I personally also didn't have a car. It's very hard, right? Navigating, waiting for Ubers, 30 minutes, depending upon, all the timing and all that. And I just have a concern about parents picking up the phone, what that looked like. And I also have a concern. I worry about 5 warnings. I think that sometimes when we look at some of the feedback, I think sometimes our teachers, sometimes our communities, think we can be soft on our approach. And I wonder whether 5 is the right messaging. Yeah.
So there's 5 levels of the code of conduct consequences. So the first is a warning. So your first time is a warning. The second time is the phone is taken for the rest of the day, and then you get it at the end of the day, and a parent phone call is made and you're added to the tracking sheet. Third time is when we do request parents come in to pick up the phone. And then after that, it's considered insubordination, and step 4 and 5 are part of our district code of conduct for insubordination. So that's where they were saying it could range from after school detention, in-school suspension, We really do not want to ever suspend a kid out of school because that's probably what they want anyway, so they don't have to do their work. So we try to keep the kids in. We have a newly aligned in-school suspension that has work blocks and community service built into it. It was successful this year, so we hope to not have a lot of these consequences. I talked to Troy, I talked to Bethlehem. They said there's growing pains in the first 2 weeks of the year, and then after that, the kids kind of settle in. My own son went through it at Troy High this year. And it was the same thing for 2 weeks. It was the end of his life, and then he never talked about it. And it was just never an issue. And he plays multiple sports, had to contact me throughout the day. Would just send me an email. The game's canceled. Games moved to this place. It'll hopefully have our kids check their emails more often. They have thousands of emails that they don't open up. So I'm hoping that will be that will hopefully be a positive from all this whole thing. As for the ride, we're not unreasonable people. We work with our parents. If a parent explains to me they don't have a means to get here, we would obviously send the phone home with the child. We're not going to, we're not drawing hard lines. It's not our phones. We don't want to be in possession of them after the school day. But obviously, we know our parents well, and I would trust that if they were telling me that was the issue, I would allow them to take their phone home with them.
Okay, Mr. Panoski.
How are you on who unlocks it in grade?
So the magnets are about this big, and they'll go right by the door. So the kid will walk by the door, it'll go click to the magnet, they'll press the button, it'll open and out they'll go. So we've ordered 15 magnets for the exits. There'll also be a handheld magnet in each of the principal's office, the guidance office, the nurse's office. So if your daughter's going home sick next year, she's in the nurse's office, the nurse can unlock it for her. The front vestibule, Tina and Jamie, that you check you in, they'll have a handheld magnet right there. We did learn that if you cannot leave the large magnets out. They spin on to almost like the stands we use at the bank. The line spins on the top of those. That kids will spin them off and take them with them, and then have them for their own use in their house. Yeah. So we learned that from some of the schools this year.
So one of the distinctions in the law, so just so we're clear, because you guys had talked about the different levels of discipline in handling this issue, the law is very explicit that you cannot suspend a student from school solely on the basis of having their electronic device out. However, you can suspend a student within the code of conduct if they become insubordinate or disrespectful, or it falls into another category of the code of conduct. That would be when a suspension would come. But for the cell phone possession itself or the internet enabled device itself, you cannot suspend a child out of school. And that's in the New York State law.
So I did want to say I had the opportunity to serve on this committee with these young ladies and the other students, faculty, staff, administrators, and it was wonderful to see this student-led initiative. The students are all on board with this, and that really makes me feel confident that this is the right way for us to be going. And I do want to support our staff and faculty as well. The high school policy right now is basically each teacher in a way has their own policy and has to enforce it themselves. And it is becoming an enormous burden on them. And it's an argument every day, every period with these students about their phones. And the teachers and the staff were really unanimous that these pouches would be a game changer for them. It would prevent them from having to have these issues on a daily basis. So I do know it's an expense, and asking for money right now is really rough, but we were able to find that money in the current year's general fund, and I do think it is worthwhile. I think that the burden it will take off of our administrators, our teachers, and also the students were really invested in the pouches as well, knowing that, and I know this for myself, that our own ability to resist those dings and those chimes and those vibrations when we get them, that the pouches block that. So we don't even have to have that moment of distraction when we feel it vibrate. I think that really is what will make this work for us. So I am really pushing for the board to consider this. I know asking for money is a challenge, but I do think, the middle school policy worked great for the middle school, but listening to the students talk about what the high school is like with lockers and everything, I do think a different policy and a different procedure is necessary at the high school level.
Any more comments on the board? Nothing?
We are required also annually to post a report regarding the implementation of the cell phone policy on an annual basis.
All right.
Thank you, team. You did a great job.
Absolutely. So we are quite a ways behind schedule at this moment. But let's see if we could get some of these other items pushed through. We have James here with the capital project and the rest of the team.
I'm gonna try and catch you up.
Awesome. I have confidence in this.
My name is James Thomas. I'm the project manager for Turner Construction on the capital project. This is Michelle Zhang. She's our project engineer for the capital project. Just want to give everybody a brief overview of where we're at currently. Where we're at. Got on?
You might have muted you. Just slide it in.
How's that? We just want to give a brief overview of where we're at with the capital project, which is building a brighter future. So. There we go. So the project is structured right now in 6 phases. So phase 1A is currently, as you drove into Columbia High School, that's our tennis courts. That's our exterior basketball courts. And as many of you might have saw when you were walking in the building tonight, there was roofers up on the roof. So they were working tonight. So construction is in progress. Everything is moving forward. We'll talk more about that in a second. Phase 1B is Goff Middle School. Very important to Mr. Simons right now, as we just heard. We have gotten all our final approvals. We are looking to go out to bid in July and accept bids in beginning of August. And we are looking at a September 2025 start. And that will be on the exterior fields. And then the following summer would be the interior elevator remodel. Following that is going to be phase 2, which is currently in with SED. Once we get that back, we are looking at a projected bid date of December of 2025. That is going to be the first of the elementary schools to receive air conditioning. That's going to be playground upgrades. That's going to be a brand new library. That's going to be some other things going on out there, some improvements. And we're also going to work at Goff Middle School. That is going to be the library renovation that's going to take place. Looking farther down the road, phase 3, that's Goff Middle School. The main entrance is going to get completely redone with new security upgrades and enhancement in the main offices. And also there's going to be enhancements in the fitness area, in the locker rooms, and in the music department. So that's the main crux of that. And then we'll move over to Green Meadow Elementary, where again, we'll add the air conditioning, playground upgrades, and library. And then keep on moving. Phase 4, we come back to Columbia High School. That is going to be in February of 2027. We're looking for a January 2028 start. And that is going to be exterior improvements here, improvements to the building and grounds building, is also improvements to the transportation building. The big ticket items here for some of you that work at this school is the main road is going to get redone at that time. It's going to be widened. It's going to be much better than it is right now. And then finally, phase 5. That's going to take us to the end of this capital project, which is going to be Belltop Elementary, which there will be additions for the pre-K program. Same with DPS. Going to be the same thing. There's going to be additions for the pre-K program, as well as upgrades to the air conditioning systems, playgrounds, and libraries. And then that takes us to the end. Go to the next slide. Okay, so this brings us to phase 1A. So if anybody drove in there, this is the tennis courts. Right now we are tracking to have those ready for the start of fall sports in August. Shout out to Columbia High School and the staff here. They have been instrumental in helping us coordinate and get out there ahead of time. We were able to get out there in April and shut those down. So we would be ready for the start of the fall season. So right now we finished our asphalt paving last week. Right now the whole courts, the fencing's going up. It's off gassing, and we're going to start the coatings. So we are on track to have everything ready to go in August, weather pending. The exterior basketball courts. Try this again. There we go. Exterior basketball courts. We started that in April as well. We've done the perimeter posts. All the sleeves are ready to go. The week of July 7th, we are going to be back out there. We're going to be completing the asphalt paving. It'll be the same process. We'll let it off gas, and then we'll do the coatings, and that'll be ready for the start of the school year. The Columbia roof. This has been a great tribute to the team and the staff here at Columbia High School. We've been able to complete a lot of more real estate than earlier we anticipated. So we're, as you can see on the orange on the map, we're over halfway, almost halfway home. Right now, the workers came back and they are working on the main entrance roof. So we're coordinating with the membrane. We have the gymnasium done, the athletic wing, the weight room, the training room, music department, all those areas. And the biggest benefit there, we were able to get all this done before Regents started, before any kind of graduation started, before any kind of proms happened. We made sure we were done and out of here before we had any dates that would have affected student life here at Columbia. Upcoming work will be this summer. We have the north and south towers to do. We have to finish the science wings. We're at the main entrance now, and then there's some miscellaneous areas with mechanical equipment upgrades. So again, that project was originally slated to be finished in the fall of 2026. We are pushing ahead, and we are confident that we can get that done in the fall of 2025. I'm going to turn this over to Michelle for the financial summary.
This will be really quick. So part of my job is tracking the construction costs of the capital project. So the referendum amount that was voted on last year was 116 million. Out of that 116 million, roughly 20.9 of that is allocated for incidental. So those are your soft costs, your construction, our fees to be here. And then also the architect's fees, engineers' fees, just general admin stuff and just things to get the construction started. Now our construction costs, that leaves us with roughly 95 million. Of that, we have started phase 1. So our pre-ref construction budget was almost 7.4 million for phase 1A. Our expected construction cost now is roughly 6.3. That's due to the roofing contractor bid that came in about 4.9, and then plus our site contractor bid that came in about 1.2, and then also leaving a little pot of money aside for any unforeseens that happen on site, which is that contingency number, that 122,000. That's all I got.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. Oh. Okay. All right. So let's just run through some photos. So as you can see, this is the tennis courts. This is the contractor installing some of the perimeter drains. Up above on the upper right is them doing the proof roll once all the existing pavement was taken out and all the other topsoil areas. I don't know if anybody knows when they drive through, but there's a large hole there right next to the road. So that's a bio retention basin. So all of the water is on the tennis courts. It's going to flow off of there. It's going to go into the bio retention basin, and that'll dissipate. So that's going to take 99% of your stormwater runoff. We've had a lot of wet problems there in the past that'll eliminate that. And then there's a picture down below of us starting the paving. So that was the asphalt binder. We finished the top on Juneteenth. Basketball courts, not exactly a lot of exciting photos here, but We did remove all the pavement. What you see there is the sub base being placed down the lower left-hand corner. Those are the new sleeves for the basketball courts. And then we did some drainage upgrades as well to the south side of the field, because there's a lot of ponding water there. We kind of took care of that. Phase 1A for the roof. So as you can see on the upper left, this is a different kind of roofing system. So basically there was a roof scan done by Labella, and they're the designers. There's Devin sitting right behind us, her hands up. So they identified all the wet spots. We were able to remove those wet spots and then leave the existing roof in place. They go over the top with a waterproofing membrane. So as you can see there in the upper left, this is them when they put the final sheet on. That's them welding the seams together. And you go down below. This was all Memorial Day weekend. So from right, this was a full depth spot. You can see how wet the roof was underneath the existing membrane. And then you can see they're starting to put down, they call it dense deck, which is basically like your sheetrock. They attach that. Then we put a base ply layer of rubber down. And then on top of that is the white cap sheet. And that's where we're at on all the roofs. So the roofers have had about 26 people up there working. And they did that for 28 straight days. And they took a little break, and now they're back. Moving into phase 1B, which is now Mr. Simon's favorite phase of the project.
Not necessarily. I think I'd have to have more support by saying the air conditioning is my favorite part of the
I think that's everybody's favorite phase. I agree.
which I will mention in a minute.
As part of the phase 1, the 1B timeline, so we are going to place the legal notice in the papers on July 2nd. We will advertise for a bidder, so plans will be available for other contractors to pick up. That's going to be on July 9th. And then we're going to have a pre-bid meeting on July 16th. And last days for RFIs, which are those requests for information. So that's when the contractors go through any questions they might have. They can answer that to the design team. We get those finalized. And then August 12th, that's when the bids are due in the main office at 2 p.m. And then we are hoping to be ready for the Board of Ed meeting on August 26th. Everything gets approved, and then we are breaking ground in September. Now I'd like to let Jen Mulligan take it away on the budget status report.
Okay, thank you, James. Thank you, Michelle. As part of the board agenda, this is just a little snippet of the budget reports that are produced out of our system. Basically, I just wanted to take a quick walkthrough of it because this is a document that we would be sharing with you periodically. We work very closely with Turner on reconciling the costs of the project. This budget status report is very similar to what you see in our regular general fund budget status reports. It's basically the same format. It's basically broken down by each phase of the project and each building. So the document is about 8 pages long. At the very bottom, you'll see on the very last page of that report, you'll see our total referendum cost of $116.1 million. So that is our initial original budget. And then we do have budget adjustments, moving the costs around based on how contracts are being awarded. So basically, we have a very high level, like 30,000 foot budget going into this, which Michelle had mentioned. We have our soft costs of about $20 million and our construction costs. So that's why all the lines aren't filled in the initial budget. We basically have a very broad, high level view of that budget. And then as we award all the different contracts, allocate the architect's fee, the construction manager fee, bonding costs, those are all allocated to specific budget lines. And we end up with our revised current budget, which is the third column over. Then the next column is our project to date expenditures. So usually when we're looking at budget status reports, we're looking at year to date reports. This will be different for this project. It's going to be project to date, meaning right from the inception of the project, which was pre-referendum back last spring time. So So this is project-to-date expenditures through May 31st, 2025. Encumbrances outstanding means what we have committed, what we haven't spent yet. So to date, for example, the roof contract, that award was $4.9 million. To date, as of May 31st, we had expended $234,000, and there's $4.7 million remaining left on that contract. So your remaining unencumbered balance all the way to the right is basically what the remaining budget is in the project. This does not mean at this point in time that because we're in phase 1A, that this is our, that we've underspent the budget by that much. Okay, we're still in the construction phase. Things could change. There's still some unallocated soft costs that haven't been fully committed there. So, and you can see continuing through each phase that you see basically we've only incurred soft costs throughout. So you'll see that common theme. So just wanted to give a really high level overview of that. And if you ever have any questions, please reach out, or if you have any questions now, I can take them. Thank you.
I have a quick comment about soft costs, and $20 million is a huge figure. I don't want to undercut the amount, but for a $116 million capital project, I believe 20% is the general contractor fee for that type of work, and the type of services we're getting really is outstanding. James, a community member, but we appreciate, you too. So please tell me your name again. Michelle, perfect. And I'm so sorry. But no, we appreciated the presentation, the very, concise figures, and we've known you for a long time presenting. But just to say $20 million of high quality service, right? Like guiding this project for a long time. And it's the typical fee of a general contractor. So though we say soft costs, it's really for professional services. And I just wanted to just make that comment.
Yeah, and it even goes beyond that. So furniture is part of the project that's considered a soft incidental cost. There's a variety of different items that comprise that outside of the construction manager and the architect as well.
Perfect. Excellent. So an even better value than 20. Okay.
Yeah, so that's not the whole 20 million.
All right. Any more questions or comments? Right.
I just wanted to speak about the air conditioning a little bit. I did obviously monitor what was happening over the last weekend with the weather forecast, and we made an adjustment on Monday and Tuesday for early release days for the students. And, there were some questions on social media about, why did we prioritize the tennis courts and the basketball courts and maybe the high school roof first before the air conditioning? There are several reasons for that. One, the design time for our architects to design a basketball court and a tennis court and a roof is much shorter and much less complex from an architectural standpoint than designing HVAC systems with air conditioning to be put in the building. So we wanted to get a project into the state education department for review and approval on a quicker timeline. And so that's why we chose that. The other factor there is every school building in New York State has something called a maximum cost allowance. If you think about your credit card, for example, is you've got a credit limit. Okay, it kind of functions like a credit limit. Every building is assigned an amount of money that you can spend on that building in order to receive the aid that you are eligible to receive. Once you exceed that amount, you're done in terms of getting the state payment. So every 5 years, that maximum cost allowance, that credit limit is reset. We did projects in Genet, at Red Mill, at Green Meadow, at DPS, at Goff in the last project, the $39.7 million. So some of that work that happened later in that project is charged to that maximum cost allowance right now. And so the timing of the air conditioning is based on, we can't do all the buildings at once. It's based on that reset date when there's enough money available that we're credited back with in order to be able to get the aid that we need. When we went out to the taxpayers and we said, this is going to be a tax-free, not tax-free, but a no increase in taxes as a result of this project. It was designed primarily to take advantage of the state aid that is available for the project. But the timing is such and the formulas are such is that we have to wait for that reset date so that we have enough money. The air conditioning across all the buildings, which includes all 5 elementary schools, some improvements here at the high school and some spaces such as the weight room, and I believe the gyms, and improvements at golf and some of the areas, is $31 million. So we wanted to maximize the amount of money that the state would pay of that $31 million back to the district. And so it's a school by school project. It's phased based on the amount of money that we want to get back for the East Greenbush taxpayers in order to do it. In a perfect world, if that formula didn't exist, and we could have done the air conditioning earlier, we would have, but we wanted to take advantage of the state paying for approximately 72% of the portion of those projects that is aidable. So that's the explanation. It was a quicker project to get into SED, and there are aid formulas that we want to take advantage of to make sure that we can do this in the most cost-effective way for the East Greenbush taxpayers.
I just want to say we absolutely have to do it that way in our current budget circumstances.
Right.
So even though, from a, like this is critical. Sure.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain that.
Any question or comments? Going once, going twice. Moving on.
Just said, for the discussion items, I recommend to the board, we go to 8B because our parents have been waiting here a long time.
Excellent.
If that's okay?
Yes, absolutely. 8B, it is preliminary 2025-26 elementary class sizes as of 6/25/25, Mr. Simons.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to present this information, and I'm referring to the first chart on board docs. So if Peter can open that up, those are the projected preliminary class sizes for next school year. And as I present this information, I'm going to try to address as many of the parents' questions as I can at this time. Okay. If I can't address their specific question, which I did make notes of, we will follow up with a communication. The district has some contractual obligations with our teachers union to make decisions by June 1st as to what we anticipate their assignments are going to be. We're bound by that contract to send a letter to all of our teachers that is considered to be a temporary assignment of what they're going to teach. So that would include the building that they're teaching in the elementary school level and the grade level. As we make those decisions and as we were reducing staff, we have to work with our building principals, with our union, to make sure that we make any adjustments within those schools in terms of teachers. For example, if you move a teacher from grade 1 to grade 2, those are all done internally within the building. So that process needs to be settled by June 1 in terms of preliminarily what grade level are the staff assigned to in what building. Secondly, going back to our budget discussions of the last 3 months, we put together a budget that was a challenging budget that included approximately 12 teacher reductions. I think it was about 11 plus 4 teaching assistants. And as I said at the time, while we don't like making reductions in instructional staff, there was a budget gap that was significant that required it. And that budget gap, which was anticipated going into next year, is also going to be a problem for the board next year and the following year. And so as part of our obligation to the board, we looked at the forecast of what our expenditures were going to be, not only for 25-26, but for 26-27, 27, and looking at those outlying years. And so we made adjustments by reducing staff, and the most of those reductions, in particular with the teachers, were all done through attrition, with 2 that faced a potential layoff, but now have been reassigned and assured for next year that they will have a teaching position in our district. So I just give that context because a lot of these staff reductions were discussed in part of the board presentation. What we also did during that time period is I showed the board and the community a report that showed that we had added pretty good amount of staff over the last 5 years for good reason, to support the kids to be able to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, to provide some special education services, to keep class sizes low for a couple of years so that we could assist the kids with their academic and social emotional needs. But in presenting that information, I made the point that that is not sustainable. What I mean by that is when we have in a particular building, let's say, for example, we have 48 students. I'm just making this up. I'll go to the report in a minute. 48 students going into the second grade. Our choices are 2 classes of 24 or 3 of 16. We really can't afford to always do that, 3 classes of 16. And so we do our best in the process of establishing the class sizes to try to make them as fair and equitable as we can, but it is impossible to make them equal. Okay. One of the other factors that affects the class sizes is if you take a building like Belltop and Donald P. Sutherland, there are not only smaller buildings when compared to Genet and Red Mill and Green Meadow in terms of fewer classrooms, the number of students that live in the attendance zones for Belltop and DPS is significantly lower than the number of students that live in the Genet attendance zone, in the Red Mill attendance zone, and in the Green Meadow attendance zone. And one of the reasons why we're putting additions on, in addition to pre-K, on those 2 outlying schools, is eventually down the road, one of the ways that the board and the district could eventually look at this is to begin to do some shifts into those schools because they'll have more classrooms. And nobody really likes that, but that is a way to make these schools as equitable as possible by being able to put more students at Belltop and DPS. But that's why sometimes I got a question today. Why is Belltop, in some cases with 49 students in grade 1, have 16, 16, and 17 in the grade 1? And then if you look at grade 1, for example, which was brought up tonight at Genet, why do they have 24, 24, and 24? It's a function of all of those things that I said. Genet has more classrooms. Genet has more students. When you have multiple sections at a grade level, more than 2 or 3, your ability to be able to manage those class sizes in the bigger buildings is a little bit easier. But going back to this chart, if you look at Genet first grade, based on this chart, which was developed on June 23rd, you have 72 students assigned to 3 sections, albeit last year there were 4, and it's 24 students in the class. If you look at Green Meadow first grade, they're pretty close, with 2 sections assigned to 45 at 20, read the print, 23 and 22. So we have 2 situations in first grade in the district, and the district has to look at this district-wide, where the class sizes are kind of on the bubble in terms of what's going to happen. And parents brought up tonight, you know, we know there could potentially be more students that move into the school. Certainly if that happens, in the class sizes in those particular grade levels that are kind of on the bubble, we will have to reevaluate that, and we will have to have a discussion about whether or not the board approves adding a class. The way the numbers stand right now, fairness dictates that you would add 2. You would add 1 to Green Meadow and you would add 1 to Genet. Resources dictate that we have 90 classes in the budget next year, not 92. So we have to be prudent and cautious about when we make these decisions. Kids are going to move into a school, be assigned to a class. Kids are going to move out of a school and be assigned to a class. During the course of the school year, I get multiple requests from families that are moving from, let's say, Red Mill to Green Meadow, who want to remain in their school for the rest of the year. And typically I allow that. But I share that with you because this movement happens more frequently than you might anticipate. And you mentioned the ENL students. We have a number of students that register who require ENL services who move in the summer. So all of these things are fluid, but not set in stone. And so my recommendation to the board, as we've been talking about this class sizes, is I understand the parents' advocacy. I want parents to advocate for their kids. One of the things that I like about East Greenbush. But the timing of this should wait in terms of making decisions, okay? I've talked to Dr. Coates about the budget. I've talked to him about the class sizes. I think we wait and see. Class sizes could go up to a point where we say, well, we really can't have 25 or 26 kids. One of the parents brought up are you going to go all the way up to the 27 guideline? We've never done that. It's been a rare occasion where we've had to do that in the last few years. But I think by August 1st or so, pretty consistently over the last 9 years that I've been here, we have a more solid idea of how many students are going to be in the schools. We'll be watching this all the time. I'm certain that the principals are very good about contacting me and saying, I got a problem in my class. I'm now up to 27. And I'm certain that Dr. Coates will be monitoring this and working with our administrators and our teachers to make sure that at the end of the day, we balance the academic and support needs that you articulated so well tonight with the financial considerations. There isn't the kind of leeway or cushion within our budget next year to add 2 teachers now. What has happened in the past, we have done that only to find out that kids move out and we wind up with 15 or 16 kids in classes. We can't afford 15 or 16 kids in a class anymore. Okay, why do we have it in certain buildings? It's because of the fact that if you have 32 students in a grade level, you're not allowed to go with 32 kids. So you have no choice but to go 2 classes of 16. So my recommendation would be to wait. I want to acknowledge the concerns of the parents. Class sizes is an important issue to this board. It's an important issue to me. And we'll continue to monitor the situation. And again, I think it's too early on June 25th to make decisions when we have such a tight budget. Yes.
And on top of number change, we should be able to see that in the last budget.
I'd have to specifically go look at that, but my sense is we've got more kids.
And also, if my understanding is that if ENL children district if they live in Greenbush, they come to
That's correct.
Would you fill out the red mill class sizes more before putting them at Janae? So if we have 24 each now, or red mill has 20, 21, 21. Would you fill those classrooms more prior to?
We would look general, not necessarily. We look at the number of ENL students, the grade levels that those students are assigned to, and how many students are included within a total number of kids in the class. So a few years ago, Janae Elementary School was the only school serving elementary age students that required ENL services. As the number of families continued to move into the district whose children required those services, we said we need a second school. Right? So we included Red Mill. And what we did was we phased those students in by grade level. So we look very carefully at the ratio. So for example, if you have 24 students in a class, you don't want 12 or 15 of those students to be require ENL services. No different than you would want to have half of those students have an IEP and require special education services. So we work with the building principals. We don't make these decisions in a vacuum. We talk about the needs of the children and we adjust the schedule so that it's not only the overall numbers of kids in the class are fair and supportive of the needs of the children, but the ratio of kids that require special services to the overall number of kids in the class is reasonable and prudent and supportive of the teacher to be able to provide as much effective instruction as they can. So I can't give you a straight answer on it. It's just, we look at it based on student needs. And we looked at this based on student needs. We didn't look at every building and say, let's just take one out of each school. There were 2 or 3 meetings where we worked with the principals to say, okay, we got to get to 90. Okay, we can't, as was alluded to tonight by Mr. Temple, we had a different budget scenario that limited 8 elementary teachers. We decided not to do that, to keep it at 5. So the principals worked with us to decide what was the best option. It doesn't mean it's the most ideal option. Well, that's how the process worked. Your answer to your question about why did the numbers change? Because more kids moved in. But I'll check it specifically, but I believe it's because more kids moved in.
And Mr. Simons, can I ask, there was some mention about TA support. I'm assuming there is some flexibility with where TAs are assigned as we look at need and look at numbers?
We're still looking at the TA assignments and making some decisions about those. We have teaching assistants that provide regular ed support. We have teaching assistants that are considered to be program TAs, that are TAs that support the special education classes that are not required by the IEP, but are good for the support for the kids. And then we have IEP required TAs. We recommended in the budget going down 4 TAs. We had more TAs retire than we needed to reduce. So we're actually, I think we're going to be in a position where we're going to have to hire some. But we're still looking where those TAs are allocated and how they're utilized. So
I want to quickly comment. I do think that this is very important. Like, and I would be tempted. Like, my point is that like my tempered approach is really aimed at, and when I say tempered, this is what I mean, right? Like certainly we want to see those numbers come down. I'm thinking district-wide, as you've been talking about, we're really facing a lot of changes, right? So I think Mr. Simons have the broad picture in mind, looking into where we want to get to, thinking about if there's a change in board leadership, thinking about Dr. Coates coming on, trying to transition, start his leadership journey. And I'm really thinking about how we set the stage looking forward, so where I would be jumping on it, like all over, like right this moment, if we wasn't, I want to make sure that we temper how we approach that. We begin a journey, right, where we're not mounting pressure that readily derails the decision-making to come,
I think that's really a good point about the transition, but at the same time, I want to just assure the parents, this won't get lost in the shuffle. We won't let it get lost in the shuffle. The board won't let it get lost in the shuffle. And I have been working with Dr. Coates. The principals know where the hot spots are in terms of the grade levels in the classrooms that we need to continue to monitor. And again, they're great advocates for the kids. And Mr. Grignon, who's still here, was never shy about articulating his needs, right, Mr. Grignon? Yes, ma'am.
Versus all of the we still have our feet. And that would still be towards average. So anywhere you would go for the lower.
I appreciate that point. Yes, I do. I appreciate that point. It's a good point.
It would be belt top 5th grade though.
Well, yeah, but I think she's talking about the overall grade, average class size at that grade level, right? Is that
Oh,
what
at
you're
that
referring
grade level?
to? Right. Again, we typically, we don't necessarily like 27 kids in a 5th grade class, but it is within our guidelines to do that. And generally, we try to, where we can, allocate staffing towards the K2, keep the kids, class sizes smaller at those grade levels, the primary grades, but it's not always possible. Right. 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 Our BRAC committee meets with the towns, and we do a report called the Enrollment Projection Study and Housing Development Study. And those developments that you're speaking of are identified in there. And that report as something that the district has to watch in terms of the number of families that move in there that have school-aged children or will likely have school-aged children in the projected years out. So yes, and that's another reason as East Greenbush grows, which we are one of the few growing districts in terms of student enrollment in upstate New York, the putting the additions on the buildings for the, I know this doesn't answer your immediate questions about first grade for next year, you know, some level of consideration regarding the attendance zones and where kids go to school will have to be a future consideration of the board. Yeah, we made some smaller changes to, at the time Belltop was crowded, shift them to Janae. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And, but again, that takes careful study and planning, and, you know, it also involves community input. And I've heard more passion at board meetings regarding changing where a child is going to go to school next year because of rezoning, even more so than class size. But it is a way to adjust your class sizes and your enrollments to make them more equitable across 5 buildings. Right. Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. But we do appreciate the questions you raised and the concerns you raised. And my recommendation would be to continue to monitor it and work on it. Things can change, and we won't leave it, you know, just for this conversation. And, but I want to, if we're in a position where we have to add expense to the budget, I want it to really be something that we're convinced won't change before September, or will only change a little bit. And therefore the investment of that additional money is going to go to the kids in the right school with those class sizes at a point where they really need to be adjusted.
So we're
When we always talked about basics, higher because typically or contracts or rating, so it's more beneficial to hire bigger teachers.
Right. That calculation was included within the budget savings that we brought to the budget that was passed. It included, it wasn't, there were teaching positions that we had to replace. And so we included that difference between the more expensive teacher going out and the teacher on the lower end of the scale. We also have some conversations currently going on with the teachers union regarding a retirement incentive that the board approved, and that additional incentive closes June 30th. We're not sure we're going to get the number of people that we anticipated, so we're looking at some other scenarios, and that may give us more of that savings that you talk about.
But as Mr. Simons, and I want to try to, you know, I don't want to, you know, limit the conversation, but we are gonna push, right? You said we're waiting for more information, and we're gonna push to try to see how much. I'm just trying to.
Well, I think we have to see how the numbers fluctuate. The numbers may go up to a point where we say, well, we don't have really any choice. to
Yeah.
put another section in
Yeah.
at Janae first grade. The numbers may go up to a point where we say we don't have any choice but to put another section at Green Meadow. But we have to see where those kids are coming from. They may be coming from another building in the district. And if there's a few of those situations that happen, teachers don't generally like this, but we do have the ability to close a section that is projected in one building and move that section to another building to stay within the 90.
Yes.
And that's an option, and that's another advantage of waiting.
And a board.
That used to happen all the time in East Greenbush, and it happens in every district. We've just been in a better position financially to not have to do that, but that is an option. Stay within the 90 teachers.
And the board has the ability to add this as an agenda item, discussion item to revisit and continue pushing, working with our admin team.
And we can give up, I can, in my helping transitioning with Curtis, we can make sure it gets on the July agenda.
Excellent.
One
thing,
no,
I was just going to say, I think one thing for the board as we think about kind of longer term budget planning is I think it's class size, but for me, what's interesting is the range across the buildings. So it's actually fifth grade and like the discrepancy between Belltop and DPS, it's 15 versus up to 26.5. And I think that's an important data point that we should really think about early on as we think about next year's budget, and just something for us to sort of remember as a board to be looking at that. Like we're at cap there,
I also heard community members expressing equity across all of the buildings.
Yep.
A one cut at Janae, a bigger school per student impact is less than at a smaller school like DPS. So I think there's a lot of considerations to the practical impacts. Hearing Mr. Simons talk about E&L students program, and I think there will have to be a preference for the students' experience themselves towards their home district, from a social aspect. I think there's a lot of factors that really goes into play, but Ms. Steinbach.
Yeah, I'll be brief, but I just want to say this is not sustainable. This is not how the district wants to cut costs, not how we want to go about savings. Full disclosure, my son is a rising first grader. He is part of the class that now no longer has that third section. So I come here to the meetings and I do the whole budget thing, and then my own family, is negatively impacted after we worked hard to get the budget through, did not get reelected, because people are pissed about the budget. And now my own son, my own family is personally impacted. It's a really hard pill to swallow. And if you think about it in long term, the kindergarten class has 59 students. This problem isn't going to go away. So what's going to happen next year? You got to add that third section back to first grade. So guess what's going to happen? When my son moves to first grade or to second grade, they're going to shuffle around teachers. And now you got teachers moving all around and people and the longevity and it's like, who's the most junior teacher and who's going to leave? And I do not want to, I will not be on the board any longer. I just don't have any interest in cutting costs and doing a budget this way. People come to East Greenbush because of these class sizes. I took my kid out of private school because it was a manageable class size and he had an IEP and yada, yada, yada. Every family's, it has a different circumstance. And I mean, this is the thing, and we have to be transparent. And I ask this to be put on the agenda because families need to make educated choices. And you need to see that, for the rest of my kid, potentially the rest of my kid's elementary experience is going to be in a larger class size. How are you going to save another teacher from Green Meadow? Where are you going to cut them from? You're going to cut them from my son's class.
A lot of things change that may not make that true.
I just, this is my last board meeting and I don't need to have, my filter on anymore. But it's like, I'll be coming on the other side because I don't want that to be my elementary school experience here. And my daughter isn't even in school. What's it going to look like when she gets here, when we're 3 years into this, budget crisis? It's just not, it's not sustainable. It's not a way we have to choose our values and what we want to stand by and the morals and what's important. And if we need to decide if class sizes are important, if small sizes are important, if what the community wants. And I hope, it was too late to get this back in the community survey. I think the board going forward really needs to think about this.
I think they also need to think about, Emily, that, Mark has been here a long time, I've been a long time. The other pushback is parents don't want to move their children to different schools.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
That's
hard
another
thing,
consideration.
redistricting, yeah.
Flex zones, redistricting, went through that, was it 5-6 years ago? You mentioned it. We try to create these flex opportunities, these zones to move children. My kids went to different schools. I had neighbors of mine whose kids shifted to different schools.
You have my own
so
development
you have
split
to be
between
open to
two
other
elementary
possibilities,
schools.
too.
You have a development that has a whole few streets in Janay, and the rest of it is in Green Meadow. So my
Understood.
son's best friend doesn't even go to his school because they live around the corner.
So we have to consider those things as
Yes,
well
yes.
when we
That's
consider
what you
all
come
these
back
pieces.
to doing asking the hard questions and doing the hard things. I'm just saying for the future, I think the board
I-
needs to look at,
Absolutely.
just look at all the ways at which you can avoid the situation we're in, because next year, if you look at what's happening and how much money you're going to have to make up next year, what,
And I just want to
There's gonna be
say,
a lot of different options that have to be explored.
Yeah.
You could be looking at changes in where kids go to school. You could be looking at combo classes, which we really don't do much anymore, but we did in the past.
these
to balance
kids
things
sit
out.
in this class all
depends
day
on where
long,
the
right?
growth is,
They
too.
move out a little bit, but this is huge. This is like, it changes a kid's day. And then, I mean, I don't need to say
understand.
anymore.
I just want to say, Emily, I think I have a history of not having a filter, right? So I'm just saying, but looking forward, and I do want to temper, just a bit, like in the sense of, and this is what I mean, like, because at the end of the day, we're not tempering at all when it comes to the kids, right? When it's your kids, when it's my kid, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, as Mr. Bruno was speaking about, thinking about options, thinking about where we need to get to and how we get there, we really have to think about, approach, and how we approach it, the energy we go into it, that things can really streamline effectively. And that's kind of, but the advocacy will occur. I don't think we could
Absolutely.
continue to take community comments. We are at 10:10 for a portion of the meeting. We're supposed to be at about 9 o'clock. So we have to keep going. If the board don't have any more comments, I would like to move on. I do apologize. I know this is a very important topic. Public forum would be a great space for it. We would be glad to hear from you, and this conversation will continue, and feel free to reach out to the board directly also for further comments. I just mean for now, we need to move on. Absolutely. Okay, next on the agenda is approval of programs for resident children with disabilities. Is there any questions or comments?
Jesse, before we go that,
We go back,
we adjusted the agenda to move, okay? I can just, if you want me to just brief the board on
Yes,
this, on the
yes,
ex officio. So, pleased to announce with the committee, Kimberly and Samantha, myself, Mr. Simon, Mr. Harkin, we interviewed several wonderful candidates, as I mentioned before, at the last meeting. We did come to a decision, and the two individual students were selected. We selected incoming senior Holly Thorpe to be the person who would represent the board. And then Willem Bohm, who is a rising junior, will be an alternate to help support Holly. We also encouraged, and Mr. Harkin spoke to the other students who were involved, to stay as part of kind of an advisory role with the with Holly and with William, and make sure that their voices are heard as well through their through this process. So we did send letters to both Holly and William and their students to, again, so our recommendation was to have those two individuals join the board and be sworn in at the reorganization meeting on July. So
Excellent.
great process, great kids. very hard decision for all of us. And, but in the end, we felt that those two students would best represent the student body and participate in the board.
It was a really hard decision.
Very hard. Great
Kids with great leadership skills.
All of them. And they're all involved in various different things at leadership level as well. And they'll continue those activities. So looking forward to having them on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Buno. I look forward to that as well. Going to be very important voices, particularly for everything that we cover, student centered. So moving on to approval of programs for resident children with disabilities. Is there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Turner, is there a second? Ms. Van Orten, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. We have the first reading of the policy for students and personal electronic devices. Mr. Simons, are you going to read this?
I wasn't going to read it.
Okay.
I was just going to give, it basically is the New York State School Boards Association recommended policy template with our specifics that the committee presented tonight included within that policy. Because the board agenda needed to be finalized, I only finished this last Friday, and I didn't send it to the attorneys until Friday afternoon. So they just gave me feedback on this today. So this is not the version that the attorneys, there are really no substantive changes that the attorneys have recommended other than one in the policy. So you can do a first reading, and then the second reading would be the one with the change. There's some editing. The only change was, and I talked to Mr. Wagner about this during the break, the attorneys don't recommend including language that requires the faculty and staff to not have their cell phones or devices out, which I included in here. However, there is a voluntary understanding with the teachers here at the high school in particular that they are going to work in cooperation with the district to make sure that they are modeling this for the students. But we could get into a labor relations situation if we put it in the policy. So the recommendation is to take it out, but we're going to trust that teachers will reinforce this policy by being good role models for the kids. That's the only change. I did ask him if there was a different way of saying it, and I didn't get an answer yet, but that's the only issue. So I'll report back on that at the next meeting, but I also have we had a committee meeting, and I did invite Dr. Coates, and he has reviewed this policy and the medical form, and actually borrowed our medical form for Goshen, as he was doing the same work down there, and everybody liked it. So
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Simon. Moving on to the award of the bid cell phone digital security equipment and compliance services. Is there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Phillips, is there a second? Ms. Van Orten, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes.
Mr. Temple, can we go back to B, and can we have a motion to approve the policy at a first reading?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Going back to B, a motion to approve the first reading. Mr. Buno, a second. Ms. Phillips, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. And we're moving down to the D, the memorandum of agreement with CSEA, successor employment agreement. Mr. Simons, could you give the
Yeah.
5-second overview?
Yes, CSEA represents our bus drivers, our maintenance and custodial employees. Also represents our food service employees, and had a very successful negotiation with the CSEA. The union ratified their agreement with no votes. So it was unanimous, and it values our non-instructional employees. It also, the employees have agreed to contribute more towards their health insurance. That's going to be phased in over a 4-year contract. There are some other adjustments we did to straighten out some confusion regarding bus routes and extra bus routes and what bus drivers are compensated. There's some uniform being provided to our food service. There's some nice things that are in here that don't cost a lot of money, keep our employees productive and taken care of. And so it is within the board's financial parameters that you set for us before we began that process.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Is there a motion to approve this MOA? Mr. Mann, is there a second? Mr. Buno, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. Moving on to the EGAA MOA on administrator mentors. This is approval of the stipend, right, for the mentor program.
It's actually memorializing, you appointed the mentors for the administrative program for this year. It's memorializing some procedures that we didn't really anticipate when we negotiated the contract. And those procedures are the first thing is we got a late start this year in the mentoring program. And I agreed that the administrators who signed up and were appointed to be mentors would receive the full stipend. The second issue is they have to submit documentation in order to receive that. The third issue is that the mentor, once appointed to assigned to a first-year administrator, would continue to be the mentor for the second year. So, for example, I'll use Dan Garib as an example because he's here. Dan Garib was appointed to be Mike Newman's mentor. This year, he will again serve as Mike Newman's mentor next year. I still maintain the ability, if something isn't working out, to remove the mentor and assign another one. But it has worked out really well. And it also indicates that mentors that were mentoring a second-year administrator will have an opportunity to apply in the future. And that the appointment of the mentors would occur in time for July 1 so that they can begin the summer work because there is work involved in the summer. They also, Jack Alvey was appointed to be a mentor developer coordinator. It establishes a 2-year term for that. And Mr. Alvey is planning a presentation in September for the board to learn about the program development that he has done. We didn't want to include it on this meeting. He had it ready, but we've got, it's 10:20 and we had a lot on the agenda. So it's just memorializing some of the procedural stuff and the terms that we didn't think about when we first designed this program, which is, this is a new program.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. It's definitely not stipend amounts, right? Could we have a motion to approve this MOA? Ms. Turner, there's a second. Ms. Van Orton, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda is the 403B plan amendment.
This one's going to be kicked down to Ms. Mulligan.
Thank you. There's a couple of changes that we'd like to do to the 403B plan. One is to offer Roth contributions, which can assist employees to invest funds, make contributions on a post-tax basis. And then the second feature that our SRP, or support related personnel unit, is looking to do, which some of our other units do, is to have non-elective contributions, which means it's actually mutually beneficial for the employer and the employee because it saves on the FICA payroll taxes on each side. So that particular bargaining unit, they executed MOA, so now we just need to go through the motions of updating the plan documents to allow that to actually happen. Any question?
No, thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Is there a motion to approve this amendment? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Phillips, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. And next we have our committee reports with Ms. Mulligan.
We had our Finance and Audit Committee meeting a couple weeks ago. Our new auditors, MMB, came to discuss the planning of the audit. Basically, they go through pretty much the standard information that happens annually, the scope of the audit, the responsibilities, the communications, the type of risks. Ms. Turner was at that meeting. So we did go through those items. The other item on our agenda was just an investment update on our investment program and how we've done with that. For 24-25, we're projected to have, including restricted reserve earnings, of about $2 million. And in the 18 months period, those earnings are about $3.2 million. So that program continues to go very nicely.
All right, and there's no table motions. Old business, anyone? Okay, and moving down to the consent agenda. Do anyone need anything removed from the consent agenda? I'm going to request that we remove the resolution to approve agreement extending probationary period for an administrator for transportation services, and vote on that separately. And
You have to make a motion to do that and it has to be seconded.
okay, all right. So a motion to do that. All right, so is there a motion to do that?
You made the motion and somebody has
Okay.
to second it.
All right, Ms. Steinbach, a second, and all in favor? So motion, yeah,
I don't know what this, you're pulling that for
Yeah.
separate discussion or vote. I'm not sure what's going on.
yeah,
Yes,
I think
that's
you're
what
right. So this is what I'll say. I'll make a comment on the consent agenda, in general, because, whether we pull it out, don't pull it out. I say, let's grant tenure, on that item in the consent agenda, and respect, honor, our staff, our administrators. That's my position formally. So whether I vote, however, I state it for the record, and we can move on with the consent agenda, and I'm okay with that.
Procedurally, there's a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Need to call for a vote on the motion. And then if the motion passes, the item F is removed to the regular agenda.
I'm okay on the
And then you
procedure.
vote on it.
I'm okay with the procedure. I just wanted to make my statement, my position clear, on my approach to my concern with the item, and I don't need the motion at all to.
So you're withdrawing the motion?
Yeah, I'm withdrawing my motion. Yeah,
Okay.
certainly.
Okay.
So we can move on. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. Turner, is there a second? Ms. Phillips, all in favor? Okay, so we have these are 5 members: Mr. Mann, Mr. Buno, Ms. Van Orton, Ms. Turner, and Ms. Phillips, in favor. All abstaining, all noes. And we have me and Ms. Steinbach as a no to the consent agenda. And we'll move on to
So what was the vote count on the consent agenda? Okay, so the consent agenda passes? Thank you.
so moving on to new business. Any new business, anyone? Public forum, last public forum. I want to apologize to our parents, for not getting a second opportunity to speak. I want to re-encourage them to message us, to speak at future public forums, because we look forward to advocating further on those very important matters. Last board forum, I'm gonna start on my left, Ms. Van Orton.
I'll keep this quick, but I didn't speak before. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Mr. Simons, it's been 1 year working with you, but as a parent in the district, I know I have been a thorn in the side at points.
Not at all.
But what I appreciate even as a parent who sometimes came to the board with a complaint was that you and all the board members, even if I didn't leave with the answer I wanted, I never left feeling like I hadn't been heard and respected. And that was the thing as a parent that I have always walked away with from the school district, that we can disagree, but still respect each other and appreciate each other. Mr. Mann, thank you so much for your years of service. I wish I could have served with you longer to learn more from you. And I never thought I would really truly meet someone who encompassed the brevity as the soul of wit, but you truly do. And every word you say, Mr. Mann, is something that I treasure because I feel like I've learned so much from you.
Thank you.
And Emily, thank you so much for your service. It's been a great year. I love your passion. I love your commitment. And I really admire your leadership. And I will miss having that here. And I wish Michelle and Jen the best as well. And I have learned so much from them. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kathy.
No, I would echo what Kathy said. Thank you, everyone who served on the board. It's a special privilege. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of family time, like Emily had mentioned. And thanks for all your service. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, just thank everybody. It was really a nice evening, and to Emily and Jen and Michelle, be proud of what you did, because you did do something that a lot of people do not do. In your time on the board, you advocated well, you had the students' best interests at heart, and that's why we're here, is to advocate for the students. So Emily, thank you. Jen, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Being on the board for a long time. Jeff, one of the most successful things that I think I've done was hiring you.
oh, thank you.
You brought our district to another level.
Thank you.
That you went from great, brought us from great to greater to greatest. And Curtis has some big shoes to fill. I know he's up for the job, but you really brought this district and this district community to another level. So,
Thank you.
I know you're going to stick around for a little bit to help the transition. So thank you for that. Jesse, I appreciate, your taking over as the president for this year. Kim, good luck. I appreciate everything that you guys do. Ms. Phillips, great. Thank you for coming on. And our new board members, we don't usually take this long. This was an extremely long meeting, but
Yes,
usually
they do.
they're
Scare 'em away. We're gonna scare 'em away.
This is normal.
So, but good luck. Thank you for stepping up and running for the board.
Early.
Whatever I can do to help or support, I'm still around. And thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Simons. You've really been an excellent example and guide, particularly, new to the role of president. And there's no way, and I don't want to, what I'm trying to say is even approaching capable, right, is not possible without your effort, tirelessly. I'm thinking back to with the coaching situation. Sometimes we would speak 3, 4, 5 times in a single day, meeting, right, guiding, helping me through the meetings. And the truth is that's just that, right? Like you helping me as an individual, but really looking at how you care, invest in every issue. You relate to the kids, you put your heart out there, and you're really trying your best every second, every decision. And it genuinely hurts you if you feel like you're not, and I'm really gonna miss the kind of effort, in leadership, the professionalism, the way how to handle speeches, which I wish I could emulate. If I could just take that part of you and just transplant, I would. But
the teachers made me do that when I was a kid. Tell that story another time. Go ahead.
No, thank you so much. No, but you're a consummate professional on every level. And I was really excited to hear that you're going to be transitioning into the curriculum assistant superintendent role to help have your experience longer. And I know we may not always agree, and see eye to eye, but the reality is the example you set, contribution to the district, everything that you are, it really shows, and I genuinely appreciate,
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Ms. Kirk, yes.
I made my board comments earlier, but I have some for Jeff too. I met Jeff, I think, shortly after he started here when my son was invited to join the student advisory committee. There were some fun activities like the dog walk and wash. Since then, you've advocated for the schools and helped to make our district the best in the capital region. Your focus is always on what's best for the kids, and that always comes through. So thank you for everything that you've done to bring us here, and we will continue to try to move forward.
Thank you, Ken. I've enjoyed working with you and on the advocacy committee as well. And everything. I do have to tell, now that you can't fire me, I want to tell a story about the dog walk and wash that came up at our administrators meeting the other day, because Peter reminded me. we had students involved in raising money for rescue dog facility. I'll think of the name of it. And so we would take the kids to the Greenbush Town Park, and people would show up and we'd watch their dog, and we'd walk them around. And we did that for 3 years, I think. When I brought the supplies back to the central office, I stored them in a closet, not realizing that the milk bone biscuits that had been donated for us to give to the dogs and all the treats were in there, and it got infested with insects. What was it infested with, Peter? Please. And we had to call an outside service. That never wound up in my board update. You reminded me of it.
That's great.
Did you replace the bones?
Huh? We tossed everything out.
Yeah, but did you go replace them? Did you go buy the milk bones?
These were leftovers. These were left over from the event. Did I go buy the milk bones?
Yeah, I think you owe the
Give 'em back.
Humane Society a box of milk bones.
No, those were for the kids to give out to the dogs when they were walking them. They were left over. Yeah, they were all donated. You could file a claim, Emily. I'll fill it out and I'll pay it.
That's on your, that's on your.
Yeah, I'll just echo what everybody said. Jeff, it's been great to work with you this year. You've really welcomed us as new members, and to Mark, Emily, Michelle, and Jen, thanks for your service. It's been great to sort of model your actions as board members. This obviously is going to be a tremendous period of transition for this group, for the district, new leadership for new board members, new leadership at EGTA. We talked about it tonight, and we'll continue to talk about the challenging budget landscape we're going to be in. And I just think it's a call for the utmost amazing collaboration and out of the box thinking and partnerships and just doing the hard work. And so I look forward to it. It's going to be really long nights ahead of us, but watching you, Jeff, and Emily and Mark and Jen and Michelle has really just sort of been an inspiration for the work to come. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
It's time, Buck.
Yeah, one final thing. It's been an honor and a privilege to sit with you all.
No, thank you so much. I do want to thank Mr. Mann, Ms. Komersky, Ms. Steinbach, Ms. O'Brien, for everything. So, and do we have an executive session?
We do not.
Okay.
I wouldn't dare.
So no executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Mann, is there a second? Ms. Steinbach, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. Have a good night, everyone.